Yeah, buddy.
Yeah.
That is the light. That is
that
is the Juve. You're supposed to, this is the Red Man Group light. All right, what's going on, brothers? This is episode number 38. Are you getting her best? Did your woman save her best for you, or were you Mr. He'll have to do? Are you paired up with an alpha widow, a woman who's still pining for the man she couldn't lock down when she was in her party years? All right, that is the topic of today's Red Man Group panel discussion. Let me do a quick intro, and then we'll hop into updates. Today's panel includes Anthony Dream Johnson of the 21 Convention. We recently wrapped that up a week and a half ago in Orlando. Carl of Black Label Logic. We've also got Donovan Sharp of the Sharp Reality, Rollo Tomasi of the Rational Mail series, and yours truly, Richard Cooper, Entrepreneurs in Cars. So we usually get these things started with a what have you been working on update. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first. At the end of this episode, I'm not going to make the announcement, but I will direct people to the announcement. That's pretty massive for me this weekend. Richard and Rollo have been brought in on this, the top secret project. Donovan and Carl do not know yet, but it's going to be fucking massive. So this weekend will be one of the biggest in my life, I think, for announcements. So stay tuned on social media, and you guys will see that after the show.
Cool.
Awesome.
Donovan, nice hat, by the way.
Donovan, what have you been up to, man?
Back in the saddle. As you guys can see, I've resumed TSR Live weekday mornings at 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 Pacific. I'm back on the East Coast. It's interesting. When I landed in Reno, I had big time jet lag, and I kept that jet lag until I got back here to Philly. So I managed to stay away from that. But I had a really good week of shows. Yesterday, I talked about the one argument you should never use with women. A lot of guys like to say things like, well, put yourself in my shoes, or how would you feel if I did X, Y, or Z? And I talk about why that never works. I talked about what's necessary to make a woman invest in you. The reason women walk away from relationships so easily is because they don't have any skin in the game. Well, I talk about how to make her have skin in the game. I also asked the question, should men always pay on the first date? The answer, of course, is fuck no. But you guys can find out why the answer is no. And an interesting show that I did on Wednesday is how sales jobs make you much better with women. Some of the best, you guys know about the mythical character Kevin in sales. Yep. He's not Kevin in accounting. He's not Kevin in purchasing. He's Kevin in sales. And sales guys are usually much better women than most other guys. But those are the things I've been working on. I'm going to get started on my book here within the next month or so. Now that things have started settling down, and that's what I've got going on.
What's your book going to be about?
Oh, wow. My book is going to be about my most abject failures with women. It's going to be called How I Failed and Won. And you guys know, certain parts of my stories with women, but I'm really going to get into the details. And it's going to, like, if you read it, you're going to have to be at the toilet because it's really, really going to make you quite sick. I said this at the 21 convention, man. Like, people wonder why I'm so hardcore and staunchly in the red pill camp, because I've experienced this kind of stuff.
Well, we all know after watching your talk at the 21 convention who hurt you.
Yes, right, exactly. Who hurt you? Yeah, you guys all definitely know.
Yeah, man. Carl, what have you been up to, brother?
Well, I've been kind of busy because, well, as you know, I've been off the Red Man Group for about a month because I was in an undisclosed European location running game pretty hardcore for 30 days straight. So 22 dates in 30 days and 9 added to my notch count.
Yeah.
So that wasn't a bad month. So
you scum.
Yeah, I know.
Yes, you should leave them better than you found them, Carl. What are you doing?
Yeah, I did.
That's the topic of today's video.
My high IQ sperm. But, well, anyway, I also started a hashtag on Twitter, and then there's another one we've been using. There's one is called hashtag Step Your Scum Game Up. Use that whenever you're getting better at game. And the other one is hashtag Downstream Twitter. Basically for all of us kind of scummy dudes. Let's see, I put out 2 essays this week. One called Bad Girls Gone Good, that kind of dissects the whole concept of, if you try to define a woman as a decent girl, a quality woman, a low quality woman, a bad girl, a good girl, it all depends on your subjective view, and there's no objectivity to it. And I also put out a post I've been working on for a long time about anger and the role of anger in the red pill. That was one of my favorite posts I've written in a long time. I started a Patreon a couple of weeks ago, so it's up there now. There are 3 tiers to it. There's the entry-level tier. You get access to the behind-the-scenes of the Gendernomics book, and I just posted one of the excerpts today. There's the $20 tier, where people there get 2 extra essays a month on either on similar to Black Label Logic, or I'm going to put out a lot of Tinder data there in a while. And then there is the top tier where I do a monthly hangout. I also finally finished the first draft of Gendernomics 2, so that should be done to launching in December. I'm working with both Rollo and Ryan a bit on the covers for them, because we're trying to redo the entire look and feel of the book. So those of you who buy Gendernomics before the launch of Book 2 will be in a very select group that has the old school cover design on it.
Cool.
And that's about it for me. I did have a very good story for today's podcast, but I'll be telling that later in the cast.
Yeah,
All right,
there we
looking
go.
forward to
Nice.
it. Rollo, what have you been up to, brother?
Oh man, I've been, it's funny. It's like I was very busy preparing for the 21 convention, and then I had, the time after my talk was really kind of filled up with trying to help guys, face to face. And it's like whenever I go into a convention or even just really any talk, I kind of go in with the knowledge that I'm going to have to prep myself for like pretty much anything. It's like you got to be ready for any stories that guys are going to lay on you, and there's always somebody that's gonna surprise you. So I've been dealing with kind of sort of winding down from that, but then like the problem is that this year is like everybody hits me up on Twitter, or they want, like, my DMs are open right now. Maybe that's a mistake. But yeah. But then so I got guys who are who met me at the convention that are hitting me up on email, and they want me to help. They want to do a counseling session, or they want to do something like that. And I do counseling sessions. I do them, but I only do them as I can, like, put my best into them. So I take very few counseling, I guess for lack of a better term, clients. I don't take too many of them because I'm really more focused on the book right now. I'm turning myself back onto really digging in deep for the 4th book. And I've got a lot of really good material for it right now. So that's what I'm doing here.
Group out of it,
so I got that going on. I got the book going on. I got this going on. I got my, I'm doing stuff for Twitter. It's interesting being Rollo Tomasi right now. I'll tell you that.
Awesome.
Well, you're also probably going to go to Poland with me in a few months too.
And that's another thing. Yeah, we got Poland. Oh yeah, I should also mention that too. My book is now in a Polish translation, which I've already announced that part. But the best part is that I don't think people really realize this, is that the company that put together my books, or they're putting out together all 3 of them in Polish language, they have started their company with the express purpose of publishing Red Pill books in Poland. Yeah. So
wow.
I was going to say they've already approached a few other guys. I think they approached, they've already approached Jack Donovan. I know that. And he's already got something going on for his, The Way of Men and Becoming a Barbarian, I think is, that's going to be in Polish language pretty soon. And these guys have been hitting up a lot of the guys that in our sphere, the manosphere here, to hit them up for doing translations for them. And they started the company just to do that. And now they're at this international book fair, I think this weekend in Krakow, Poland. And this is an international thing. And the only book they have right now that's been produced is my book. So that's the one thing that they're kind of pushing out there. And this is an international gig too. So it's like, at least as far as Europe is concerned. So it's really cool to see that. Man. Yeah, it's really, really cool. So it's hey man, it's spreading, which is
the future's masculine, man. We keep telling them.
Cool. All right, let me just quickly do my updates before we hop into today's topic. I've been super busy since I got back from the 21 convention. I got to hire a sales guy for my debt business out in Durham. By the way, if you live in the Durham region around Whitby, Pickering, Ajax, you can shoot me an email. It's on the YouTube channel, discussion link. I'll teach you how to be a proper salesman and make some real fucking money. Aside from that, just busy with fall coming, turning into winter. I had to put snow tires on my daily driver. The R8 got stored. I spent $1,200 in fluid and a carbon cleaning on the motor to get the air flowing nicely. Car drives awesome now. Too bad I got to store it. But
real quick, Richard, you can tell somebody drives race cars when you call it your daily. Like that's a tell. You're a drag racer race car. Yeah, I had to put snow tires on my daily.
Yeah. Well, you know, when the snow comes, I like to slide around and drift, turn off the traction control, fun goes on, right?
Yeah, that's
and just, you know, trying to catch up on what I've been doing with my YouTube channel. I've got a dedicated rep from YouTube now that's supposed to help me build the channel. So I got to connect with them. Well, hopefully I'll get some insight there perhaps. And I'm just strategizing the next few months, you know, the fall winter season of what I'm going to create as far as content. I was really re-energized. If you guys saw my video on my channel about the summary of the 21 convention, some random guy in the second or third night came up to me and said, "Hey man, I'm alive today because of you. I saw your video on surviving divorce a couple of months ago. I had a gun in my mouth." So, quite often when I do what I do, there's a lot of noise in the comments and a lot of it's positive, but you always get some haters and you start to wonder, are you moving the bar in anybody's life?
Right,
and attending the 21 con and just interacting with everybody and seeing, that what we do, and especially like even on the Red Man group, moves the bar on men's lives. They take guns out of their mouths. They take the noose off their neck. They stop going back to bad relationships that don't serve them. I mean, you can go on and on down the list. They lose weight. They come back making more money, starting a new business. Just super stoked. So super grateful for, for Anthony for the opportunity to speak and come back for a second year for that. But let's hop right into today's topic. Are you getting her best? Rollo, you got some talking points. What did you want to start on?
Yeah, I did. And the reason I wanted to get into this is actually this is a topic I've wanted to talk about for quite some time. Actually, I don't think we have ever really. I mean, certainly not on this show. We've ever adequately covered the dynamic of alpha widows, and we're talking about women who end up pining for a previous lover, okay, who end up with, usually if you've read my second book, which is Preventive Medicine, I sort of lay out a timeline there as to what men can expect from women at different phases of maturity. So like the things that an 18 to 23-year-old woman is going to prioritize as her most important when it comes to like her sexual strategy is going to be different than what a woman in her epiphany phase, which is I peg that at about 29 to 31, is going to prioritize. So suddenly all the the hot alpha sex in her party years becomes less important when she's looking to secure somebody who is a long-term provision or a long-term beta kind of guy. And I'm using these terms alpha and beta as just abstracts. Okay, I'm not saying one is bad, one is good. I'm just saying that that's what they're looking for. When we look at what hypergamy does for women, it's alpha fucks and beta bucks. So we're gonna proceed from that assumption here. And so when women get to different phases of their maturity, they want to prioritize things. Like things become a little more important and some things become less important. So when you're dealing with a woman who's say 22 years old and she's at her sexual market value peak, she's looking primarily for the alpha fuck side of things, whereas generally speaking. And then when she gets to be about 29 to 31, she's looking for somebody who has long-term provisioning capacity. And so maybe what she wants to do is sort of it's not to say that alpha fucks aren't important to a woman in her alpha or in her epiphany phase, but she's also looking for a guy who has long-term prospects. This is one reason why women always look for a guy generally look for a guy who is older than them, is making more money than them, is a better as far as like sexual market value is concerned, is a step above them. I've always said that hypergamy never seeks its own level. And so what I'm seeing right now is a lot of guys who get to that point, who they play through the beta role, they play what I call the beta in waiting, and they get to be about 30 years old, and they're starting to see some return on their very long-term investment, because it takes longer for men to establish themselves as men. Mm-hmm. So when a guy stays blue pill, when a guy is beta and decides that he's going to work on himself and he's just going to, he's going to keep his head down and play the beta game, and hopefully, his ship will come in when he gets to be about 30. And sure enough, that's usually what happens, because women in their epiphany phase are looking for guys who have established themselves, who are still ignorant of the game, but they look good as long-term prospects. These are the guys.
If I can put some legs to this real quick, I'm 30 years old now, and all the guys I went to high school with are now my age too, 30, 31.
Are they married?
Well, basically, they're dropping like flies. If you watch left and right, they're getting poached off by women that we went to high school with, or women even that we didn't go to high school with, but are the exact same age. So it's a phenomena that isn't just, your abstraction of it. Like, I'm seeing it in real life.
Yeah. And you are actually, Anthony, I'm glad you're on, because you are in the exact demographic of what I'm talking about here.
Yep.
And so what happens is these guys end up with, they think that their ship has come in. They think that the girls who have kind of like the girls they wanted to get with during their 20s are finally starting to pay attention to them, but they don't realize it's not because they think that they're, awesome and they really want to get with them. It's because they are long-term prospects. They have something that a woman needs. Women become much more necessitous when they get into their epiphany phase. And so just to clarify terms here, what I call the epiphany phase is when women are kind of cashing out of the sexual marketplace. Okay, so they go through what I call the party years, which is could be 18, I suppose, 18 through about 26 to 27. And then they get to a point where they kind of say, okay, I can't keep this up. I can't compete on the same level that I could before. So when a woman is at her sexual market value peak, right around 22, 23 years old, she's at her market value, that's when she's wanted the most. And this is also backed up too by a lot of statistics. If you look at, I think Carl can probably back this up too with gendernomics, in the OkCupid data, men of all ages from like 15 or 18 all the way up to like 80 all prefer a woman who is between the ages of, say, 22 and 24 years old. It doesn't change. It's always that same demographic. Whereas for women, they're always looking for a guy who is between 5 to 7 years older than them. And that, of course, is because of hypergamy. Hypergamy can't afford to have an untested commodity or an unsure thing. They want certainty in that security that's going to be there. They want certainty in that they've chosen the best alpha fucks and beta bucks. And so that continues throughout life. So if you got a woman who's like 35 years old, she's looking for a guy who's like, say, 40 to 42 years old, somewhere around there, because that guy is what she perceives as being a higher value male than the guys who are younger. She's not looking for, if she's looking for a younger, if you're talking about like the cougar dynamic, she's looking for guys in that demographic simply because she's looking for sex. She wants to get back to the sex that she used to get when she was in her 20s. So the epiphany phase is when women have gone through their party years, they've had their fun, and they're trying to cash out of the sexual marketplace. And this is the time, and I peg this at between like 29 and 31 years old, where women say they want to get right with God. They want to, if they're religious.
Yeah, they want to get right with life, right?
They want to get right with life. They want to start.
Let me just hijack this rant, Rollo, because
go ahead.
Kind of like a story experience. I got
Please do.
Yeah, because this will tie into exactly what you're talking about and take it from where Anthony kind of like left off. Because let's use my friend. His name is, we'll call him Dick. Okay, Dick was about 33 years old. Meets a girl, thinks that, she's the cat's meow. She's perfect wife type mommy material, does the courting. While he's courting the girl, she's got one foot in her old life. She's going out a couple times a week. She's partying. She's dancing on the bar. She's hooking up with guys. And then she's got her other foot in her new life where she's trying to reel in the beta for provisioning for marriage and stuff. The courting goes on for a few years. They get married. It doesn't work out after a couple of years from that. Simply, you could go far down a rabbit hole on this, but really, she was acting, and he was believing the act that was sold to him, that things would be, just till death do us part, and I do, and everything would work out if you just, comply with what you've been told to do. So that's where Dick ended up. So that kind of ties in where Anthony's, what Anthony's seeing right now. and what Rollo's talking about. Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic, but yeah, are you getting her best? Are you really?
Exactly. And I have this probably the single most popular, I can say it's the most popular, but it's certainly up there. I've got a great post called Saving the Best. And there is a common misconception amongst beta guys who get to be right about 30, 33 years old. And they think that their ship has come in, and they think that women are finally paying attention to them because they are, sexually attractive, or they believe in the lie. They believe in the Sandberg lie that nothing is sexier than a guy who has got his shit together at 33 years old. And she's not necessarily lying in that sense. Women really want that guy, but it's not that he's sexy. It's that he represents a much better long-term prospect than the alpha bad boys that woman has been, that Sheryl Sandberg has been encouraging women to date throughout most of their party years. So
she literally puts the dual edge strategy.
Exactly. And that's, I love it. Cause when people
it's a very schizophrenic strategy as you describe it, right, Rollo?
Yeah. That's what I do, because it's interesting to me that a woman like Sheryl Sandberg, who is, what an archetypal, quote unquote alpha female, although we've discussed that before, but represents at least to like Forbes or Fortune magazine, an alpha woman, or somebody who is, that people ought to listen to. And she's giving advice that is basically hypergamy. It is date the bad boys, date the commitment phobic boys. And by date, she means like fuck them when you're in your youth. And then cash out.
I've got it here. Just so everyone has a point of reference. It says, and this is just so poetic. It says, quote, "When looking for a life partner, my advice to women is date all of them. The bad boys, the cool boys, the commitment phobic boys, the crazy boys, but do not marry them. The things that make bad boys sexy do not make them good husbands. When it comes time to settle down, find someone who wants an equal partner, someone who thinks women should be smart, opinionated, and ambitious, someone who values fairness and expects, or even better, wants to do his share in the home. These men exist, and trust me, over time, nothing is sexier." This is hypergamy personified. That's it.
Can I just pass it off to Carl, because he shared an interesting story in the pre-show?
Sure.
Oh yeah, that story. Yeah, there was this
ties in
girl
nicely.
I've been sleeping with, and we've been kind of going off and on for a couple of months now. And I was supposed to link up with her in a couple of weeks, and I just got a text this morning, and it reads, and I'll actually read it to you verbatim here.
Did you bang her?
Yeah, repeatedly, but that's not the point.
Just want to make sure.
Put a baby on her.
Yeah. My name. I'm going to have to cancel our date in 2 weeks. A former boyfriend of mine got in touch, and we're going to see if we can get back together again. And I think it's kind of wrong of me to sleep around, regardless of how much fun it is.
Listen, real quick. What she told you, listen, she's been fucking the boy. See, here's the thing. What guys don't understand.
She's been fucking both of you.
Yes, exactly. Like, you learn so much about women when they cheat on you, but you learn more about them when you are the guy she cheats with. This is it.
Mm-hmm.
They're both
recently
brutal.
Both of you, man. Yeah.
So I mean, just to sort of corral this back, I think that there's two issues going on here. One of the reasons I wanted to talk about this is because, I read a tweet by a certain purple pill, blog, quote unquote blogger, but a certain purple pill life coach, Pat Stedman,
all right.
basically condemning guys for, unethical players for ruining women in their party years. So now that we've established what hypergamy is, okay, now that we have established that the Sandbergian plan for hypergamy is to date the bad boys and to have sex as much as possible with the undoubtedly sexy bad boys for their party years, and then to cash out at the last minute before they are unable to compete in the sexual marketplace anymore. So now we've got this admission of what female sexual strategy really is, but yet we are supposed to feel bad for facilitating that. Okay. And I think that really there's a couple of things going on here. Is basically saying that, unethical players need to rein that shit in, kind of thing, because or at least rein it in with the quote unquote good girls. And that was another part I wanted to talk about.
What is the definition of a purple pill coach unethical player? Like, yeah,
exactly.
What are they pointing at exactly?
Well, and the thing is like and it was probably one of the most ignorant statements I've heard in a long time, but it was indicative of a guy whose mindset is still locked into that blue pill idealism. Yes. It's a blue pill idealism to say, well, one woman is quality and one woman is not quality. No, women are women. Simple as that. Okay. And women are going to go and they're going to follow their sexual strategies, regardless of whether you think that they should be in Bible study or you're meeting them in the club. Okay.
Are these guys suggesting that men are ruining these women because they're dating them in this fashion?
Yes. And that was the other part of it. So
they're pointing at us going, you guys shouldn't spin plates. You guys shouldn't let go of women if they have
because when women get to that point, when they get to that epiphany phase, when they're trying to say, you know what, I've learned my lesson and I don't want to deal with the bad boys anymore. I want a nice stable guy who's got a job and is taking care of shit and is the perfect provider for me in the long term. They're looking for that guy. But what happens is that when that guy comes around, he gets pissed off because he's not getting her sexual best. And this kind of ties back into that post I was talking about, saving the best. Saving the best was me just sort of breaking down this situation of this guy who married this woman. And these are his words. Okay. Married a woman who has told him pretty much that she's not into sex. She's not as sexual. She has, they might have quote unquote mismatched libidos. And that, so basically the guy has accepted this as the truth about his wife and is trying to deal with that. And then finds like some old amateur porn of her.
Oh yeah, she was getting the gangbang.
Yeah, she was getting gangbangs or something like that. He had found, and this is great. He had found, I think this was old school, so he found like VHS tapes or some sort of physical recording of it. And he saw this, and he sees his wife having sex with like 2 or 3 other guys, and her wife. I was so wild in my college days. Sees this. And then wonders why he's not getting his wife's sexual best. And this is a common thing that guys who are in that blue pill phase, where in that they get caught in the epiphany phase. They become like the perfect foil for that epiphany phase, and they believe that.
Okay. Okay. I gotta ask you a question. Because what is the actionable step now? Because a lot of guys would be like, okay, that's great. I understand it. How do we respond to that? Like, how do we move forward now that we know that?
Well, I got something to jump in here with, and
I think go ahead.
Go ahead.
Really good bounce. So what Pat Stedman's doing is he's blaming, like, women today are like with the Sandbergian plan and all that shit, and the way women act on Instagram and in life. You have like 80% of women acting loosely, approximately speaking, 80% of women acting in a certain way that is new for them to act in this way at this level in society, this open. But Pat is trying to pin their behavior on like a minority of men. So you have less than 20% of men today being alphas doing this stuff. It's probably closer to 10% today. The way it's probably smaller than it's ever been. So you have a huge majority of women acting in a certain way. And the first thing this guy does is absurdly put it on a very small minority of men. So he's trying to control our behavior. So to me, it's not just blue pill bullshit. Mm-hmm. It's like delusional from a statistics perspective.
It's basically feminism.
It's apologetics is what it is.
Not only that, here's the thing, man. Women are going to be what they are. And a lot of guys, they find out that, because I fucked a lot of wives and girlfriends, and of course you get a bunch of heat. Well, you shouldn't be fucking wives and girlfriends. That goes back to that morality. Look, dude, look.
Well, half the time they don't even tell you, right?
Exactly, right? These are just the ones that I know. But if a girl wants to cheat, she's going to cheat. If you don't, listen, you can be a moral player all you want to. And by the way, that's a bit of an oxymoron, right? Like freezer burn, solar-powered flashlight, waterproof mop, and all those other kind of jokes. There's no such thing as a moralistic player. All's fair in love and war. But if you don't fuck that wife, someone else will. Right? So so you can try to take the moral high ground all you want to. There are plenty of guys out here like me who don't give a fuck about morals. And to guys like Pat and to guys like Pat Stedman who want to say, well, you guys are out here, ruining these girls. No. We're simply taking advantage of what's available to us. If women weren't out here fucking around and fucking 100 guys by the time they're 25 years old, it's almost like the car business. People ask so many times, why are cars so expensive? Automobiles are grossly overpriced. The reason they're grossly overpriced is because we continue to buy them. Car prices aren't going to go down unless we boycott them. You can say that really about any economy. If women weren't out here passing out pussy like it's Halloween candy, then nobody would be trick-or-treating. That's just how it goes. So if girls are going to be slutty, we're not going to say, well, you're being slutty, and even though I really want to fuck you, I'm going to take the moral high. No, we're men. We're designed to fuck, and if they're going to give it to us, we're going to take it. So is it a two-way street? I don't know. But if you want to change if you want to change male behavior, you got to change female behavior.
Yeah. Oh, I was going to say is that what he's doing is he's making a division line here. He's saying there are ethical players and there are unethical players, and there are quality women and there are non-quality women. And so you're making these evaluative judgments. Okay. Now we can get into the morality and the amorality of what game is all about, but the fact of the matter is that whether or when I read this, it's indicative of a complete ignorance of the game, of sexual strategies of both sexes. Okay. And so to say that a guy is ethical or unethical in ruining a woman, first of all, the guys who say this are usually dudes who are locked in with a girlfriend or a wife, usually around the epiphany phase, who is not as sexual with them as before. And the reason she's saying that, her most women, when they get there, if they've been partying and having fun with the alpha bad boys for a long time, and they have to transition over into trying to force themselves to be attractive and attracted to and hot for a more beta guy after they've been with the alpha bad boys, what they're going to say is, because they don't want to give their sexual best to that beta guy, is they're going to say, I'm damaged. I was damaged by those alpha guys in my sexual past. And that was another part I wanted to get into here today too, is like dealing with a woman's sexual past. But what you're going to end up dealing with, these guys, the Pat Stedmans of the world, are they believe this. They think that there's a qualitative difference because they've been told by women that they are damaged, or they are less sexual, or they have mismatched libidos, or they don't want to be as sexual with their long-term partner because of the bad boys in their past that they're still really kind of pining for. They're alpha widows for those guys. And so those dudes don't know how to deal with that. I've dealt with so many guys who have gone through exactly this. That's why I wrote Betas in Waiting. It's these guys who wait their entire lives for their ship to come in. And finally, when that girl decides to be, the girl of their dream girl decides that she wants to settle down and have a family with them, she's ruined for him because she's already had sex with those guys. We were talking about how many partners is too many.
Well, let's deal with that question. Hang on, Donovan. How do you know you're getting her best? I mean, let's put that to the panel, because that's the question that I know guys want.
That's a good question
right now. Is how do you know you're actually getting her best? Did she give her best away to somebody else, or are you getting it? Like, how do you actually know that?
Here's the deal, man. And before you answer, how do you know you're getting her best? You have to ask there's sort of a preamble to that. Are you getting her best? Well, it depends. Were you her first choice, right? So anytime you start fucking a girl, you always have to assume she's fucking other dudes. This is just, game Red Pill 101. Women don't really want to be fucking a bunch of guys. They want to be fucking one guy. But the reason they're fucking a bunch of guys is because society tells them to, feminism tells them to. They have to keep their options open. But girls don't want to be fucking 5, 6, and 7 different dudes. They want to be fucking one of those dudes. You know that you are her first choice if she is, like, the first thing you'll know is if she's always available. If you call her to come over, she's there. She doesn't flake. She doesn't give you excuses. She always responds to your texts very quickly. The texts are always enthusiastic, and she responds within a few seconds. None of this 20-minute stuff to sort of play it off. If you're her first choice, she doesn't play games. She isn't vague. If she has plans, okay, she will inconvenience herself to see you, right? So basically, if you are plan A, you will know it. If you're let's say you're plan B, C, or even D, right? Her texts are going to be sporadic. They're not always going to be enthusiastic, sometimes even days apart. She's not going to pick up the phone when you call her. She'll cancel meetups, not all of them, but she cancels enough to let you know that she's fucking someone else. Now, another way you can tell that you're her first choice is, just like Rollo says, is sex, right? A girl will give you like let's say a girl is fucking 4 different dudes. She's not blowing all 4 of those dudes, right? She might be blowing 2 of them because one of them really likes it, but the other one she really wants to be with. She gives you her mouth, she gives you her ass, right? Again, they fuck a bunch of dudes to keep that abundance mentality, even though they don't really have to. They're women, but again, the one she's fucking the most, the one she's giving her best sex to, that's the one she wants to be with. So before you answer the question, hey, how do I know I'm getting her best? The question you have to ask yourself is, are you her first choice? And if you're her first choice, it's pretty obvious. I actually did an episode on this called Are You Her First Choice? You guys can check that out on donovansharp.com.
Yeah, there was a segment that Chris Rock did on why your woman's pissed off at you. And the answer to that was because you're not her first choice. And the audience burst into fucking laughter.
Yes.
Because it's mostly true, right? You know, there's probably women sitting there laughing their asses off going, yep, that shit's true. This is funny. I don't even know that we even need to add to that because I think Donovan knocked it out of the park. Does anybody else have anything else to add to
actually,
how you know if you're getting her best?
It looks like Frederick Frick thinks I'm full of shit. He says Donovan is saying nothing. He's only enthusiastic. Well, call in and tell me about it.
Yeah, call in, man.
Yeah, the phone lines will be wide open. Yeah, that's we'll get into that too.
If you have better ideas, maybe I will to counter it. Call in.
He said maybe I will. That means he's not going to call in. I have a feeling that this Fred Frick guy is the same dude who's been trolling me, and I have a feeling I know who that is. So
I'm going to throw this out there because we're going to open the phone lines here in about another 15 minutes. But I just want to say, if you're going to call in, keep your shit on topic this time because I really want to hash this topic out. So if you have something to say, then please stick to the topic today. I was going to say, as far as like sexual best and stuff, is like, you're right. The first choice is you want to be the A guy. In fact, I even have a post called it's called the A guy, I think. And the other thing is that there's women tend to, I think it was like 40% of women have a plan B guy. So if the A guy falls through, they've got a B guy that's sort of like warming up in the bullpen. And I think that a lot of guys, if they knew this, these beta guys who are, so upset about these old, these other players, if they knew that they were just the plan B guy to begin with, I don't think that they would be quite as enthusiastic or trying to, white knight as much as possible. However, I was going to say, how do you know you're getting your sexual best? Well, I mean, I think that is becoming increasingly more difficult for women to cover up their sexual past because of social media, because of Instagram, because I'm not saying that, all women are going to end up being, amateur porn stars, but I'm saying like if you go and you look through a woman's socials, if you look through her Instagram, I mean, that shit lasts and the internet never forgets. Okay. And so if you go and you look through how she was with her ex-boyfriends by looking at her, her social media, or if you look at what she was, what she's posting on Instagram, Bumble, whatever, maybe you met her on Tinder, who knows, but that's a digital footprint, and finding that stuff out is going to be much more easier than it was. And so that's why
it's not just that, but I mean, like you can also hop into ideas where it's like you can assign a lay count to certain historical events in a woman's history.
Oh yeah.
She went to Europe with her girlfriends for a month and a half in the summer. You can add 1 or 2, one night stands in there.
One or two. You need to have like 10 for a month and a half, dude.
Whatever,
Easy.
let's say minimum 1 to 2 up to 10, depending on the range you want to use. You can find all these events in their lives. I think that Donovan's got a video out on slut tells, right? She lived by herself for like a 7-year period, things like that, right?
Yeah, she lives by herself. She works out at a meathead gym. And again, I want to make it clear, a lot of these slut tells, and they're called undercover slut tells. The reason why a lot of guys are sort of snowed by these women is these slut tells are undercover. The reason they're undercover is because there are certain habits and tendencies that women have that we as men, red pill and blue pill alike, we all just pass off as normal female behavior. So if she lives alone, or if she works out at a meathead gym, or she worked at a call center, or she has ever been married, guys think, okay, she was married. Well, guess what? Women, after they get the divorce papers or when they separate from their soon-to-be ex-husbands, those are the easiest targets out there. They fuck anything that moves. So yeah, definitely check that out, man. There are a myriad of undercover slut tells that a lot of guys are not aware of.
See if you can grab the link and post it in the chat.
Well, I was gonna say is getting back to the point here is like I think that there's this desire on the part of these guys who get with their quote unquote dream girls to find that they're damaged. They need some kind of alibi. They need to find some way to put that back on men. And this is really part of the white knight aspect, but it's also men wanting to identify with the feminine. So I think what maybe you guys read this and maybe you didn't, but there was an article in the New York Times about this guy, George Yancey, wrote this piece because he's trying to start this hashtag, and the hashtag is I am sexist, and essentially just it's apologetics. It's apologizing for men being toxically masculine, and from a social standpoint, the guy's basically trying to pile on the Me Too movement and trying to pile on with what's going on in the midterms right now, because the guy wants to identify with the feminine in a global sense. But I think that he's representative of this apologizing, this wanting to say, I'm going to speak for all men. And here, come on, guys, get behind me, and we're going to start calling ourselves sexist and admitting that we are wrong. And it's the same shit with I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Dear Woman video from the Good Man Project.
Oh yeah,
it's like we feel a growing sense of worship for the feminine. And it's like these guys are just like the most repulsive males that you could possibly think of, and they're trying to go out there and speak for the rest of men. And so when I look at something like what Pat Stedman was talking about, when it's like, oh, well, you guys are scum if you game the wrong girl. And it's like, why would you say that? Why is that even an issue? And then I realized, and I looked at some of his other posts, and he had this other post about like how when women are in their epiphany phase, he's trying to say, well, sometimes women don't really know that they're going into their epiphany phase. They don't know that maybe they did get screwed. And it's like, he wants to say that I don't know what I'm talking about. But the fact of the matter is all of his tweets from, say, I think the beginning of or the middle of September to where we are right now have been this apologizing for women's epiphany phase, apologizing for that part in the Sandbergian plan of hypergamy, to say it's men's fault that women are hypergamous. It's men's fault that they do what they do.
Do you guys remember a couple of months ago, there was that news piece where there was a girl, she was engaged. She was at her bachelorette party or hen party, whatever.
Rich, hang on a second. Before we hop off this topic, I wanted to follow up with what Donovan was saying.
Okay, go.
I think I have something pretty important to add here. So it is very useful and important to look at the behaviors of women, especially stuff like undercover slut tales, the small things, the details. And that's really useful for determining if you're going to be her best. But I think there's something even better you can do, and that's what I do. And it's useful for me. So basically, women believe in a lot of woo-woo bullshit, astrology and like all this shit, right? And they really, in any kind of like supernatural stuff, they seem a lot more prone to believing in.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
So
chick crack.
Yeah, exactly. With that in mind, in my opinion, probably the best way to determine if you're really getting her best is not just the details. Does she blow you? Does she give you your vagina? Does she give you your ass? All that stuff, right? Mm-hmm. It's going to be like that super dominant moment. Like, do you break her? Does she give you her soul? So if you asked her that, would she be willing to give that to you? Yeah. And that means when you're fucking her, it's getting really fucking intense. It's been going for a few hours. You're in her face, you're whispering in her ear, and you're just blowing her fucking mind. So if you feel that and you feel her whole body, like her giving that to you, that's the tell. Anything less than that, anything less than blowing her mind or like doing whatever you want with her, wrapping a belt around her neck, whatever you want. If she's not eager to do that, you're not that guy. But if you are getting that behavior with everything else, like Donovan was saying, that's where you're at. So you basically, and you want to tease her, like, I want to steal your fucking soul.
Yeah.
So if you can say that to her and she's all about it, and she's hitting you up, and she's texting you, and you're doing whatever you want with her, that's when you're at the top of the game.
There's no doubt that enthusiastic sex is a big indicator of that.
Women break rules for alphas, and they make more rules for betas.
And you want her to break.
If she's making rules for you, you know where you're at.
Here's I guess what I'm saying here. You want her to break all the rules for you. Any fucking rule you want, fucking all of them. 100%.
I want her to change her religion for me.
Yeah, that is ideally what the best is. So back to what I was saying before Anthony hopped on there. If you Google slut girl bangs stripper at her bachelorette party, that is a perfect example. She's getting married basically the night before her wedding. somebody busts out a cell phone and records a video of her getting, you know, tapped by a male stripper with all her friends, all her girlfriends clapping enthusiastically like seals, or just going nuts on it, right? That is a perfect example of what women are capable. Do all women do that at their bachelorette party? No, but it is a good example of what can and does happen. Regular basis, semi-regular basis. I don't know, but it happens.
All women are capable of that, though. That's what Rollo's saying. With, like,
I was going to say all women are capable of that. But see, what happens is then you got a guy like Stedman who says, well, they're obviously, they plays the no true Scotsman card. Obviously, they're not quality women if they're doing that. You know?
Because like I'm sure his wife never did anything like that before.
Well, and that's the other thing is like when they don't get their sexual best, and they realize that after like 2 or 3 years of marriage, they go, man, she's really reserved. She doesn't do all the things that I would really like her to do. She's not sexually adventurous or whatever. And then then they do the open communication and they talk about it, and he tries to negotiate desire
until he finds a videotape of 5 black guys running a train on her house.
And then you realize, okay, then he has to. That's when they have to make rationales for that. That's when they have to say, well, it was these guys' fault that my wife isn't sexual for me, because these guys were unethical players and they are scum because they followed along and basically gave her what she wanted. You know, it's men who are responsible for a woman's hypergamy rather than putting any kind of blame or putting any kind of personal responsibility on her. I'm sorry, Carl, go ahead.
Yeah, I like to use what I call the pain in the ass to depravity ratio. And I might have a slightly more analytical bent on this, but how much of a pain in the ass is she, and how depraved does she get? So if you're getting missionary after dating her for 3 weeks, you're really not getting her best. Mm-hmm. If you bought her a cup of coffee and you're doing anal 20 minutes later, then she's probably giving you her best. Mm-hmm. But
the medium is the message.
Yeah, it's a negotiation thing, because I think what I've said this about purple pill dating coaches before is what they're telling you to do is be a better negotiator. They're like, okay, you're not getting her best now, but if you negotiate better with her, she'll give it to you. And to the no true Scotsman fallacy, I have a couple of Twitter posts up now. The first question I put out: if I meet a girl in church, 20 years old, maybe one serious boyfriend, we go for a walk and she starts asking for dick, should I A, say no because it's my duty as a man not to ruin decent girls, or B, do it because she's obviously not a decent girl? And the point of putting out these two Twitter posts is that you don't know if she's a quote-unquote decent girl or not just because she wants to get laid. For all you know, you might be her second dick ever. And, based on notch count alone, that doesn't trigger any of the notch count red flags. Like if she's had 125 partners before you, odds is that relationship won't last. But
it's gonna be a lot of fun, though.
Yeah, but you can break. But you can break something down to that one variable, and that was kind of the point in Bad Girls Gone Good. That if you're looking for someone to have a long-term relationship with, her notch count probably matters less than, her emotional stability. How many mental disorders does she have? How much student debt does she have? What values does she have? What's her political perspective? But if you're looking for someone to sleep with right then and there to have some fun, then she'd obviously be a low-quality woman, and the girl with BPD, a drug problem, and a notch count in the hundreds is probably going to be a much better quality girl for that one-night stand.
Let me ask you guys a question. How do you determine notch count? I'm just curious.
Oh man, yeah, I can speak to that. What I was going to say is like there are, and Carl will back me up on this. There's statistics, of course, that show that if a woman has like one partner, her odds of the quote unquote marital happiness, however they gauge that. I just had my last post. I put the statistics, the graph of the statistics in my most recent post called "Past Indiscretions." I wrote exactly what we're talking about here when it comes to what is how many notches is too many notches, right? And it's statistically provable that women who have more sexual partners in their past tend not to be able to solidify solid attachment, solid attachments. They have higher incidence of divorce, higher incidence of initiating divorce as well. So how many is too many, and why is that the case for women? Because for men, it's not the case. Men can have more partners and still be able to have, successful, happy marriages, because both men and women are different. Well, thing is like and this is Rollo Tomasi's theory on this. Okay, it is the more exposure a woman has to a larger pool of sexual experiences, the more of a chance that she's going to have an alpha experience. She's going to find one guy who outshines all the rest of them, and that's how you get an alpha widow. Especially in this day and age, because when it's socially acceptable for a woman to have, double-digit notch counts these days, that's going to create a larger pool of men for her from which she can have a more alpha impression upon. So that, remember, women are looking for the best quality guy that they can get, and usually that's spread between either alpha fucks and beta bucks. So if you've got a guy that is like really super alpha, maybe even just one notch count is enough. Whereas if you've got she's got 10, well, that's 10 partners she had a chance to have that alpha impression made upon her. And so what happens is, and this is my belief, is that when a woman gets married who has say 10 partners, she's going to be fixated on the guys that did her right, the guys who were the benchmark, the guy who set the measurement for all the other guys that came after him. And so maybe that was number 1, maybe that was number 9, and you're number 10. Right. And so there's always that possibility of there being that alpha guy within that pool of dicks that she had. Right. And that's another reason why a guy like Stedman gets upset, because here a woman has had 10 guys before him. And so one of those guys might have been the unethical alpha player that ruined her, quote unquote, for marriage. Right. And so you've got this larger selection of, a larger pool means more chances for an alpha impact. So it could be one who created that alpha impact, or it could be, number 8 of 10 who created that alpha impact. And that is what she's going to be pining for when she's in a long-term relationship.
So I completely support what Rollo just said, but independent of alpha widow status, which can happen at 1 or 2 or 8 or 15, whoever triggers that or whatever, right? Independent of that, I look at notch count. Well, first of all, I never ask it. That's pretty useless at this point. Women will never give you a straight answer, or it's really rare that they do.
Oh, you never get the truth.
Oh, no.
Yeah, exactly. And then you have to guesstimate. Well, do you triple it? Do you quadruple it? Do you double it? So it's fucking pointless. What I do though is I watch skill level. So the most important thing for quality sex is desire, right, and enthusiasm, but also skill and their technical skill is important to watch, and that can make it better. But it's also the biggest indicator, in my opinion, the very small details of what they do. I mean, not only is it feel good for you, or is it too good? It's this girl's worked some dick. How is she sucking my dick so well? Why is that? Well, independent of that, though, independent of the skill level and how good it feels, you have to watch how she grabs your dick and little stuff like that. When you grab her in certain ways, watch her reactions and her responses. Independent of how alpha she's treating you, you have to watch and try to think and gauge how many times has this happened before to her. And if you watch those micro tells, Joe Navarro type stuff, body language, that's the best indicator I think you can get, is very, very small details, micro details.
I agree. I totally co-sign that.
Yep. Because that's the only reliable body language, basically. Watch the actions, ignore the words. Mm-hmm. So and sex is the most intimate, obviously, you're going to get with her. And then it's hard words you can take that.
Here's a question I wanted to ask before we get on to phone calls, though, but I know Donovan is restarting right now. And this is a common thing. I would almost like to get Christian McQueen or Goldman in on this one too, but it's there's this common misconception that, especially it used to be in the pickup artist community, that you should leave a woman better than you found her. So if you're spinning plates, that it's incumbent upon you, the player, to when you leave her, not to ruin her for the guys that come after her. Do you think that it is possible to leave a woman better than you found her, or within the same condition that you found her? I don't think so.
Well, I don't think so either, because what happens is whenever you interact with someone, they make an impression on you. And I think in some cases, the leave it better than you found her can actually hurt men, because let's say you meet some chick with BPD and she's a living train wreck before you meet her. How are you ever going to leave someone who's inherently self-destructive better off than you found her? You're not, because she's going to drive herself across that cliff face and right into the depths of the canyon,
I
regardless
love
of what
your.
you do.
Can you show your analogy on that, Carl? I love the one you had, the initial one for that.
Oh, the falling knife?
No, you said
Yeah.
you said BPD women leaving them better than you found them is like leaving a Molotov cocktail, a lit Molotov cocktail better than you found it. It's like,
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. No,
Yeah,
the-
like
the
there's a
thing-
reason why women have that blank thousand cock stare, right? It's like almost with every encounter, their soul kind of dies off a little bit more. I
Yeah.
mean, how is that men's problem if they're promiscuous and they're going to sleep around?
I agree. Yeah, men like this Pat Swayman dude who keeps saying this shit about men ruining women. No, women ruin themselves. They fuck around.
Yeah, I mean,
alphas.
to like Rollo's point, and I agree to him to with some respect and regard. And it's not often that I disagree with stuff with Rollo, but I find that I tend to leave women better off. I mean, I feel like I bring enough to the table that there's more than just lessons as far as men, relationships, whatever you want to kind of go down and notch it off. But yeah, there's a component there that I agree with what Rollo says. But at the same time, I mean, if you're a top shelf guy and you're working on yourself, there's going to be some takeaways that women are going to have from that experience with you, whether it's a marriage, a long-term relationship, a plate, a date, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Well, support of what you're saying. I think I see what you're saying, Rich. And if it any legs, and I think it might, I think it's because someone like you and me and basically the guys in this panel, we've achieved like an alpha attitude and mindset and that kind of like life status on purpose. You've done it rationally. You've taken the time to do it. You didn't bumble into that shit as a teenager. In fact, you bumbled into the opposite. You accepted a lot of blue pill lies. You lived that kind of life, that beta life. You made dumbass blue pill mistakes. But now you're at a point where you're engaging this behavior and this mindset, and it's on purpose. Women don't understand how you got to that point. They don't care. Like you said, Rich, they're waiting at the finish line. So how you got there is fucking irrelevant to them.
Oh, man, I got so much flack from that tweet. There was a lot of women, white knights that came on. Well, why don't we segue into the white knights for a bit before we take calls, because we're still waiting for
waiting for Donovan to come back. I was going to say,
what about white knights?
Well, hang on. To close out on my point, you're not a natural alpha. You're very different. You've done it on purpose. It's a philosophical attitude, and it's a life pursuit that you've done on purpose. And I think that's a very fundamental difference between you and some alpha bad boy who's been in prison 3 times.
Oh yeah, I'm not a tattooed prison bird, right?
But women don't care though. Like they don't, hypergamy doesn't fucking care. So how you got to that point, they don't know, they don't care, and it doesn't make sense to them.
Yeah, like it's just that you're at the finish line. Yeah.
I mean, what makes a guy alpha is going to be the main reason why you can't leave her better than you found her, because she's going to want that again. And if she finds a guy who isn't at least that level of what she thinks she can get or above, she's going to be wondering whether this is the best guy that she can get.
Yeah, it's like Trouble Man just said here in the comments, men are made, women are born, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, so all of the things that made you attractive and arousing to that woman in the first place are exactly the same things, or exactly the reasons why you can't leave her better than you found her, because she's going to want to have that as her next stepping stone. If you're here, the next guy better be here, or else she's going to be pining for the guy who's came before you.
What did Chris Rock say in a stand-up? Something like, women only date or marry up financially. Men only
fuck up.
Yeah.
Yes.
Basically, men fuck up and women, I guess date up, or it's hypergamy, right?
My point here though is Rich is somebody who has not been to prison all these times. He does not have a shit ton of tattoos. He does not have 3 baby mamas. But he will turn a woman on to the same degree some dude who's like really violent. Well, maybe not violent on a day-to-day basis, but he's been in prison for violent crimes a couple times. So they're both amping women's up attraction and arousal levels. But at the end of the day, Rich is not going to be beating women, rampantly fucking cheating on them probably and stuff like that. Rich is a blunt fucking dude. I think if he's banging multiple women, they're probably going to figure it out or just know it intuitively.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, he's not going to be committing crimes and like severe emotional abuse that a lot of natural alphas or whatever that have emotional dysregulation, all that trauma, those are the guys that have the ability of that shit.
Yeah, like I think it's the catalyst is the trauma, whether you spent a couple of years in the slammer or you went through the divorce machine, had your business attacked by the government and dealt with some shitty breakups with stupid single mommy relationships. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's going to be something there that's going to harden you. That's going to give you that cred, at some point.
So Rich might not leave women better than he found them. That's up for debate, any guy like us. But it's a lot different than some dude who's like hitting alpha cues because he's, you know, fucking wild and crazy. Women love that. They love danger and fear. Like they love
they like the torture, man. They really
Yeah,
Donovan,
exactly.
you're back. Did you get your system up?
Yeah, Blog Talk Radio is down everywhere.
Oh, geez.
I thought it might have been my computer, but you know, you go to the Reddit and they're like, yeah, Blog Talk Radio is down.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Yeah, so,
should we do like questions in maybe, or do we want to post the link for? I mean, if we post the link for somebody to join, it's going to get busy because we got 600 viewers.
Yeah, it
right?
will be. we can certainly take certainly take questions from the.
Yeah, and when you do
panel.
questions, guys, make sure you preface it. I don't know, maybe with a bunch of asterisks so that we know it's a question, so that we can see it. So, for example,
bold make it a super chat, whatever you want,
or make it a super. So yeah, use asterisk or whatever, just so that we can because there's a lot of chats going on at the same time. So we want to be able to distinguish one from the other there.
Yeah, that's true. Well, you know, but while we're waiting
we
here,
have 600 people watching, and we have like 100 thumbs up and 2 thumbs down. I'm guessing that's Pat Stedman and his wife. But anyway, smash that like button.
I mean, we were going to talk about white knights and how to deal with white knights, or why even white knights even exist. So primarily, white knights exist because it is the more active guys who are, first of all, they're apologists, and then second of all, they're guys who invest themselves in what I call beta game. They try to identify more with they took it to heart when somebody told them, you need to identify with the feminine. You need to get in touch with your feminine side more. And so they believe that the more they can defend women's honor, you know, yes, my lady, the more that they can get. Yeah, exactly. The more they can get on the good side of women. And I think this is kind of an interesting dynamic, because I've been talking about white knights since like the good old days, you know, back in So Suave. It's interesting to me to see this as sort of a sexual strategy for guys who are trying to sort of get in under the radar. I think, even Jordan Peterson pointed out that these guys are, you know, male, quote unquote, male feminists are probably some of the worst white knights there could be, but these are guys who are trying to get into the to align themselves with Team Woman, right? And they think that if they do that, then women are going to love them that much more. But what they don't understand is that like does not attract like, opposites attract.
Yeah, they're trying to get into their pants by being their friend.
Listen, here's how to disarm, and the older I get, the more into this red pill thing I get, the more white knights piss me off. They have become an Achilles heel of mine, because it just boils my blood when these idiots come to the rescue of these whores, or they try to defend these whores. So you disarm them with this one statement. I think we've done this before. So after they defend somebody, you tell them, well, you realize she's not going to fuck you.
Yeah, now, we have the hashtag going now. Yeah,
like you understand she's not
still
going to
fuck you, Bob.
Yeah, she's still not sucking your dick, right? And then they completely shut the fuck up because we've nailed them.
Oh yeah, well, they got nothing on that. We got a question here. Hesley says, what is the best method to measure the previous best that the Alpha Widow has experienced? And I don't know that I would even give a shit. I mean, why would I care what the best is? Because as far as I'm concerned, she's got it right now.
Yeah, I don't think there's any real way to figure it out. I think Carl said it best. If you wine and dine her, for 3 straight dates, and she gives you, unenthusiastic missionary starfish sex, you're probably not her number one. But if you, spring for $3 for a latte and 20 minutes later you're giving her anal, then yeah, that's probably a good sign that you are her number one.
The medium is the message.
Yeah, there's certain questions that you don't ask women, like how many guys have you been with, who is the best you've been with, like you just don't have, like that's beta frame, like that's blue pilled beta bitch ass frame. Get out of that mindset.
No matter what she says, even if you ask her, well, how many guys have you been with? And by the way, you should never ask that. She's never going to tell you the truth. Even if a girl tells you, well, I've been with 12 guys, which unfortunately these days is really not that much. You think you're right. Well, I thought he said bullshit when he sneezed, but like he says, I've been with 12 guys. And listen, I actually have an episode called the Donovan Sharp Notch Count Formula. I should put all this stuff in the links. If she tells you she slept with 12 guys, basically just add a 0 to that. Right? Like that's what you have to do. And listen, back in the day, like when I was 20, 21 years old, the general rule of thumb was this. If you ask a guy how many girls he slept with, you divide that number by 3. Ask a girl, you multiply it by 3. Now you multiply it by 33. But you should never ever ask that.
Quick shout out for the $20 super chat. Thanks for that. Neninger, Steve Neninger.
Oh, Nursing
Thanks.
Jaeger.
Let me add this.
Oh,
So
never mind.
I think what's really important, actually, that we haven't discussed yet, for whatever reason, I think the first night you bang a girl is really telling of what your status is with her. That should be, in my opinion, that should be first or second date at the latest. Third date is kind of like a 90s thing. I think that's kind of phased out. You should, if you're waiting to third date, way too long. First or second date. But the first night you guys fuck is really telling her where that's going to go. And you need to break her to the best of your ability. That's what she wants anyway. So you need that first night. It's not just the anal stuff or whatever the fuck, whatever. That's too specific, I think. You have to really like get in her head. You have to fuck her mind even more than her pussy.
Yes, her
We got a question here. We got a question here, guys. Adventure Dave. What advice would you give to guys who feel they aren't entitled or deserve high quality women?
Say that again.
What advice would you give to guys who feel they aren't entitled or deserve high quality women?
Then make yourself
Stop being a
deserving
fucking
of
perfectionist.
Well, not only that, you have to make yourself deserving of high quality women, because as a man, you don't deserve shit. Listen, a woman doesn't deserve the best of everything because she has a vagina. Well, that works the other way. Just because you piss standing up does not entitle you to the best women out there. You have to make yourself the best.
We got another question here from Rusty. He says, if a girl brings up her sexual past to you, how should a red pill man react?
Yeah, Anthony can answer that one.
Wait, so what's the question? I was about to I got some text questions. I was about to copy it.
So if a girl says, "Oh my God, I've slept with 158 guys," what do you think? What does Anthony say?
Well, I think if they bring up their sexual past, what they try to do is they try to downplay it, like, "Oh, you'd be surprised how few guys I've been with," right?
Yeah, I would say if they tell you it's a lot, though, they're probably fucking crazy. First of all, second of all, it's probably a shit test. I would think.
Yep.
Or they're testing. Even if it's not a shit test, it's some sort of test. They're testing. They're pinging you to see what you'll do. I would just fucking ignore it or whatever. I wouldn't even. Yeah, it's just, I've never heard a girl say that. I mean, they might tell you their notch count, but they're never going to say it's over 100. For a girl to do that, I mean, she'd be like BPD crazy.
Here's the thing.
Or porn star or something.
Or porn star. Check this out. And you have to really think about this. If you haven't fucked a girl yet, but a girl tells you she's fucked 119 guys, she's not fucking you, okay? Because if a girl really likes you, if a girl really wants to have sex with you, she doesn't want you to think she's a slut. So she'll divide that number by 10. I actually wrote an article called seven ways to figure out she doesn't really like you, or 7 reasons she's not into you. And if she is brutally honest about her notch count around you before you fucked her, dude, she's not fucking you because she doesn't give a shit whether or not you think she's a slut. Another reason a woman will tell you her exorbitant notch count, this usually happens after you fuck her, is because she thinks that sexual attraction is symmetrical. It turns girls on when they find out you fucked 269 broads. Right? So girls think that the things that make us attracted to them will work the same with us. So they say, well, listen, I'm sexually experienced. I fucked 174 guys. They think that we're going to be like, ooh, you fucked 174 guys. You're attractive. They don't realize that that's not a good thing. So again, women always think that sexual attraction is symmetrical, and it is not. That's the other reason they're honest with you about their.
They've been lied to by feminism. That's a very specific, like, blue pill feminist lie that they actually believe that today. It's fucking wild. It's so stupid. It's so
you got
stupid.
some questions there, Anthony, that you got by text.
Yeah, I like that. I like that one right there.
Which one?
I'll read it. I'll read it real quick. This is what I'm hearing from you is that if you don't find a woman in her early 20s, she's damaged goods. What does that mean for a guy who's actually would like an LTR or a marriage as the end game? Oh man, I would say, first of all, don't default to binary extremes. That is you want to piss me off. That's how you piss me off is you completely go, well, if it's not black, then it's got to be white. Right. And there's never any grays in between. And I don't know that this to me is like guys will say this. Well, if they're all, I need to find a virgin. How do I find a virgin? Give me a virgin, because if I'm not the first guy that ever had sex with her, then I won't be the alpha ideal that she has. She'll pine for me and there's some truth to that. But guys expecting to find some sort of virgin bride, or they're going to say, "Oh, go look in the churches, go look in the mosques, go look in the bookstores, go look at college."
They're evading the burden of a performance at that point. They don't want to be that alpha. They're trying to avoid that.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's, first of all, it's unrealistic to think that you're going to be the first one to, plant a flag on the fucking moon. Maybe you are, maybe you can understand if you do, and you understand that you're the impact you're going to make on a woman who is you are her first sexual experience. Yeah. I mean, I think that there is, like, women will end up attaching you always remember your first kind of thing. They always attach an importance to the first guy that they have sex with. But I think that it's this when guys throw this at me when they say, I just got to find a virgin. Well, what that is it's leaning. Well, first of all, it's unrealistic. And second of all, it's leaning towards this binary extreme because you think that that's the only way to go about it. So if I can't find a virgin, then she's got to be a slut, and I will just get a sex doll.
Here's a quick question.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, Winston Wolf wants to know, why are there no black incels? There are plenty of black incels.
Oh, yes,
brother.
there are.
There are a whole lot.
I met a couple at the convention, actually.
Yes, we did. Listen, there is nothing more unattractive than a black beta male. Oh my goodness. Because see, we as black men, we have what I call the assumed alpha advantage. The way we're portrayed in movies and the media and all that, they portray us as the static alpha males. And you would be surprised, man. We talk about shit tests all the time, but when you're on your game as a black man, especially when you're approaching non-black women, you don't really get shit tested as much. Women shit test black men as a matter of confirmation rather than a matter of really seeing if he is as advertised. They say, okay, I'm going to give him a low-level shit test. Okay, yep, he's as advertised. So we really don't have to deal with shit tests quite as often as other races have been. But to answer the question, there are plenty of black incels. You better believe it.
There's a question there, I guess, from Anthony's text thread. Guy says, I'm in college and all the girls around me are in the party stage of life. Are college women even worth pursuing? What's the panel's take on that?
Yes, but only for sex.
What are you pursuing her for? Are you looking to wife her up? Or are you looking for, I mean, I hate to say this because I do know that there's probably going to be some women watching this. If they're not watching it right now, they're going, I really want to have something special and something, generally when women are in their party phase, especially when their sexual market value peak, that is not the first thing that's on their mind. It is for men, though. I should say that it's I tend to see guys who are just coming out of high school, or maybe they're just getting into their first or second years of college. They tend to be very idealistic. If I could just find the right girl and we could settle down. It's no, the women at that age that they want to wife up don't want to have anything to do with them because they're exploring their sexual options. They realize that women realize that this is the peak of their agency. I
want to come in with here's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Women in their 20s, take it from Donovan. Women in their 20s and guys, y'all don't know what the fuck you want. Okay. You think that you're 23 and you want to get married and wife somebody up. You don't know fuck all about the world. You probably haven't laid the groundwork. You haven't built the foundation to your life, to the pursuit of that excellence that I talk about. Stop trying to focus on, I need to find her, wife her up before she gets 72, Chad, Steves, and Kevins. You got Steve. Where does Steve work? Accounting. Chad's the pool boy, and Kevin works in sales. Correct.
Don't forget Tyrone.
Tyrone, yes.
Tyrone's in shipping.
Before all these guys get to her, and you have to swoop in and save her and grab her now at 23. Don't worry about that shit. Rollo makes it really clear in his book. Your 20s are not for wifing anybody up. Figure out your shit. Build a foundation to your life. If you're building a business, get it off the ground. Whatever it is that you're doing, make that the focus of your 20s, not women. Allow women into your lives, during your 20s, but just don't fill all your time with it. Marriage, LTR, living. The dumbest things guys do is they move in with their girlfriends in their 20s. I did it. I've got the t-shirt. Fuck.
Yeah. Sean Smith has a great term for that. Mindless cohabitation. You just fucking do it because you think it's a good idea. It's stupid.
Sleepwalking.
Yeah. Also, too, let me pile in on this. So Rollo hits the nail on the head that men dating and getting married at that age, you're super far from your peak S&B in your mid-30s or whatever. But in addition to that, there's almost no fucking chance you understand women well enough to really be dating them with it's bad for you. There's no way you understand women at 23 years old, even if you've been an alpha all through your teens. You don't even understand
yourself at 23 years old.
Exactly.
Men don't become men until they're 30.
Yeah, totally agree.
Real quick here, Barry Linden says black dude is a megalomaniac. Yes, I am.
What does that make me?
I'm sure we've all got nicknames.
Yeah, sure.
We all
it's so
got
funny. People all throw, Donovan is so egotistical. Yes,
I got called a woman hater.
I'm the cult leader. That's right.
You got called a woman hater? Yeah, they say Donovan.
No, Rollo is Obi-Wan Kenobi, and I'm Luke Skywalker. Apparently.
Oh, I love it. That's
we
good.
It's made.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, listen, we don't hate women. We hate fuck women. There's a difference.
I love women and hate feminism, as Anthony says.
There it is.
With,
and we
with a
hate
burning passion. You should too.
Word.
with the
You know, I was
3,000.
just getting back to that other part where it's like, guys moving in with their girlfriends, or kind of cohabitating or finding somebody. It's interesting to me because I just read this article about how millennials are having less sex than any other generation that came before them.
I'm sorry, say that again.
Millennials are having less sex than any other generation.
Millennial
And
males, maybe.
Millennial, yeah, probably millennial male.
Yeah.
But I was just,
All the
I'm
girls are
just
getting it,
reading
that's for
these.
sure.
I'm just reading these articles. I mean, article after article about how these guys were having sex with their wives or their girlfriends before they moved in with her, and then suddenly it just drops off to nothing, and they're either preoccupied with work or they're all the standard bullshit answers. They're preoccupied with their their tablets or whatever, and they just don't have time for each other. They don't really care, and I think that sort of ignores maybe purposely ignores the greater problem. But the other thing I was going to say is that when you are 23 years old, you don't know shit. But when you get to be 36 years old and you realize that you are at your sexual market value peak, or you're at the prime of your capacity to be sexually selective as a man, and you are already committed, or you've already got a child, or you've already made decisions that have locked you into things that are going to basically dictate the terms for the rest of your life. When you get to that and you realize, damn, I had more potential than I really thought of, that's when people get zeroed out. That's when guys go and they say, man, I wish I would have read The Rational Male before I'd done all of this. Understand that if you're 23 and you're considering moving in with a girlfriend, or if you think that you got to get married, or you got to wife up a quote unquote virgin before she gets corrupted, understand that you will be a completely different person when you hit 30, 33, and you start to understand that women are into you for probably different reasons, but you have a much higher selectivity than you did when you were 23, and you're going to go, damn, I wish I would have waited. I wish I would have not made these decisions. I wish I would have known all this shit before I made those decisions.
You know what just to share a personal story, I had a conversation with my dad last week. He was asking how the convention was and what went down. I shared some experiences, and, we were chatting about how this sort of conversation and how these ideas put like a real dent in men's universe that, allows them to kind of like move through life, with an advanced level of knowledge, with advanced level of game, whether it comes to women, money, self-care, whatever it may be. And I said to him, you didn't tell me any of this stuff when I was a kid. And his response to me was, yeah, I just figured, you just go out and learn it yourself. You'd experience, fall down, scrape your knees and get back up. And I'm like, okay, yeah. I mean, there's an opportunity today if your father's not telling you. I mean, it's part of the reason why I'm writing this book that I got to fucking finish now, because I keep talking about the damn thing is, there's shit your father should have told you that he didn't, that you would love to have or know. I mean, I get single mothers like emailing me all the time, and it's like, I got a son who's 17 and a son who's 19. Keep doing what you're doing. I love your channel. The next breath I get an email from some woman that hates my guts, because I tell guys what the world's really about and like. So it's one of those things where a lot of people just don't get the information, and they sleepwalk through life like I did, running into shit and falling down and scraping their knees and breaking bones and sort of thing. And it's like, you can learn that way. I mean, that's one way, but how great is it that we have the opportunity for these men on the panel who have conventions, books, blogs, YouTube channels, yes, that are able to get this information out to guys, so they don't have to make the stupid mistakes that we all did, right?
That's right.
By the way,
ironically, both women that email you want to fuck you. So,
yes.
Whether they love you or whether they love your work or hate your work, if they're emailing you, they want to fuck you, Rich, 100%.
I think I've made my position clear on single mothers.
Rule Zero Dad says Rollo is delusional from the cancer.
Yes, I'm delusional from the cancer.
No, Rollo does not have cancer, guys.
I do not have cancer.
We're gonna have a
withering away to nothing.
We're gonna have a Red Man Group beanie out soon with the
red
hat with a logo.
I know totally, it's gonna have to be. It's gonna have to be. I think it might have to be red with a white lettering. I'm thinking of different designs for it, but we're definitely gonna do it. We're definitely gonna do a beanie. I get all the proceeds to go to my cancer fund.
Yes, yes. Proceeds go to cancer research.
Yeah, go to cancer research.
On the millennial comment
fundraiser #SaveRollo.
Yes.
Yeah. So if the millennial sex thing has any legs for women, like for the men, we understand that they're more beta than ever, all that shit. If there's any legs to millennial women and like even Gen Z women not having as much sex than other generations before, if there's any legs to it, I think it's going to be that women are racking up huge notch counts, but they're not getting fucked like they want. They're not getting fucked as often. In some cases, they're not getting fucked as often as we think, because they're fucking. Even if they're trying to find alphas and they're desperate for alphas, there's like less alphas than there's ever been. So they might have 1 or 2 alphas at a time, but then they're like fucking these beta dudes, and then they stop fucking them immediately because they're beta and they're not getting fucked right. So the end result is they're racking up huge fucking notch counts. Perhaps this is the end result. They're racking up huge notch counts, but not getting fucked. Like they're getting fucked a lot less than their return on investment, as Rich would say, is horrible. So
I think it's worth saying that, and this might make guys feel a little bit better about high notch counts. Let's say a girl has fucked 150 guys, right? We think, oh my God, she's fucked 154 guys, and we think every one of those guys has a porn star sized dick. Half of them are black guys. They all fucked her in the ass. No. If a girl really has fucked 150 guys, maybe 6 or 7 of them fucked her like she really wanted to be fucked. The other 140 something, they were just kind of meh. So yeah, a girl might have a high notch count, but it's irresponsible to assume that all 157 guys she slept with really just pounded the life out of her.
Yeah.
Hey, I got this one question. I get this a lot, actually. This was from I think a guy who was MGTOW. He says, how can women not understand how fucked up they are? Okay. And I've actually answered this. It might seem like kind of a goof question, but it actually has some seriousness to it. A lot of guys think that it is deliberate. They think that, well, women are fucked up, or women do what they do because it's like malicious and they understand it. And I will tell you right now that a lot of women, I would say the vast majority of women, behave in ways that they are unaware that they're doing it, or even when they're made aware of their behavior. And remember, we're talking about the medium as the message. Even when you make them aware of the medium that they're putting out there, they'll still go and do it. They'll still do what their biological, psychological, evolutionary imperatives tell them to do. It's not because they're like trying to be malicious.
It's not intentional. It's not intentional. They just have no clue that they're doing it.
Yeah,
and I mean, like,
solipsism. They don't know about their own solipsism.
Exactly. Yeah. And you can even try to point to the obvious facts. It's pointless. You know, it's pointless to try to have a red pill conversation with a woman. You know, you're far better off just proceeding and plowing on.
Polygamy does not fucking care.
It absolutely goes nowhere. Like, I've tried this. It goes nowhere. Save your fucking time.
This is where undercover slut tells come into play, because undercover slut tells are habits that women have that nobody, including women, really thinks of as undercover slut tells, because again, girls are raised to engage in behaviors that are conducive to infidelity as a matter of just engaging in them. The workplace, you see how women dress at work: short skirts, cleavage everywhere, high heels. I mean, you could basically wear those to the club or on a stripper pole. They honestly don't think there's anything wrong with that, because this is the way they've been trained to live. We got a comment here. Looks like a cuck. Ryan Stone asks, why does Donovan hate women so much, and does Rollo have cancer? Listen, Ryan. Listen, Ryan. I'll have you know, I don't hate women. Like I said, I hate fuck them. I'll let Rollo answer the cancer question.
Leukemia. It's leukemia.
I have a question here.
Ryan, that just sounds like a guy who has a lot of horrible shirts. I don't know.
He's really busy in Ireland right now. You can follow him on Instagram. His wife is taking butt pictures of him. He's getting ready for his big debut for the energy drink, where he's going to be wearing assless chaps to try to bring solid that way. So follow at Ryan Stone on Instagram now.
Hashtag sodomize Ryan.
Yeah. Right. Okay, so we got a question here. It says, question for Redman Group panel. He says, landed 2 great careers with great money here in Toronto. 26-year-old, graduated a month ago, chose the higher paying job, wage, benefits, pension, overtime, 150K plus. Best advice going forward to him. The guy's 26.
Oh, we got the off on.
Hey, Hunter in the house.
Made it.
I love how he looks like a werewolf right now. He looks like a werewolf. I love it.
Going. We got it in full rage.
What's up, Hunter?
Good shit, man.
How you guys doing?
Hey, good.
I like that hat in the background there.
Fuck yeah.
Do you guys want to do that question real quick before we move on to Hunter?
Yeah. This is easy. Just sleep around, man. There's no need to get into a long-term relationship. Making 150K at 26. By the time you're 36, you might be doubled that. Sleep around, apply red pill knowledge, et cetera, et cetera. Don't think about a long-term relationship until you are 37 years old, man.
Yeah,
Don't do it.
Understand women, because you could lose all of that you've worked to create. So my best advice is understand women, get red pilled. Don't fucking, I mean, if you're making 150 grand a year, you got your life set, you're 26-year-old. Dude, you're a high value man. Can you imagine where you're going to be in 10 years when you're 36?
Man.
Do not
stack
fuck
that
it
cash,
up.
man. If you're making 150 a year, you need to save 50 of that every year. You can live on 100K, man.
You got to remember too that like guys like me and Rich Cooper. I mean, Rich is older than me, but we both learned the hard way. I mean, we all have in our own ways. But most of us, including me, for example, we escaped without permanent physical consequences.
Yes.
So, Rich Cooper didn't end up in jail after false allegations of some sort. I didn't have a child with Medusa. I did not get divorce raped. Other guys lose everything, and so learning the hard way sucks. So if you can avoid that, you need to do that.
Yeah, there's guys that learn the hard way that survive, like Anthony was describing. There's guys that learn the hard way that put a noose around their neck or they have a gun in their mouth. You don't want to fucking end up that way.
I would also
want to see you go there.
I would also add this: once it is made available by Anthony, watch Jack Donovan's speech for the 21 convention in 2018. He was talking about this as just because you reach a certain what you think is the apex doesn't mean that you stop there. Don't get comfortable. There's always something else that I don't believe in contentment. I believe in discontent. The human state is discontent, and how you deal with discontent is what defines you, particularly as a man. Are you going to deal with it creatively, or are you going to deal with discontent destructively? And a lot of guys opt for destruction. So you get these kids who are, maybe they're young athletes or something. They start playing for the NFL. They've got all this money that they've never had in their lives, and suddenly it destroys them and it just tears them apart. So be careful of that and understand that just because you've reached one sort of plateau, that doesn't mean there's not more to be done and more that you can do. So make sure that hey, I'm glad for you. You're making, 6 digits at 26. Great. I couldn't even dream of that when I was 26, but I
was making $26 at 26.
Yeah, you're already there. So what's next for you? Decide what's next. Always something else.
Close out on my point. Learning the hard way is dangerous.
It is.
Well, not to go in here and a lot of these guys have given you a lot of good advice. I'm just going to be the one who gives you the simplest piece of advice. Out of those 6 figures you're making, spend $200-300 a year on condoms if you have to, because don't get a woman pregnant, for the love of God. Just don't knock her up. Wrap it up. It's not as good, but I mean, condoms are cheap compared to child support.
But Carl, I'm on the pill. I have an IUD in me. It's safe to go in me.
Yeah, I don't give a shit. I mean, the girl could say she had her ovaries out, show me the scar in the medical report. I'm still not going there until I get a second opinion.
Dude, listen, I tell girls all the time, man, I got a 2-inch dick. The only reason why it looks like I have an 8-inch dick is because I wear 15 condoms.
We got a question here, and D. Ann, thank you for the super chat. He says, is it me, or when I speak to women, they bullshit a lot and often I can't stand it?
Not just you, brother. Happens to all of us.
Yeah, it just goes back to the whole watch their actions. You can't rely on the words. You've got to see if there's any conflict and watch the actions. But it's just part of getting red pilled. I mean, you will get frustrated from time to time. You just have to, learn how to adapt.
I mean, why is he listening to what women say anyway? You should ignore what they say and watch what they do. Women are basically teenagers, so just ignore it, man.
Well, when you get red pilled, I get it, because I mean, you will get frustrated with shit that they say and do, and you're like, oh fuck, we got to deal with this. And it's like, you think of, and then you think of Rollo's blog, and you're like, oh, Rollo did a post on this, and you're thinking about it. You're like, do I fucking have that conversation, or I just shut up and move on? And quite often the best way to go is just shut up and move on and let them have their, conversation about the conflict that goes on.
Yep.
I think something else you have to do is and I know you get pissed off at women, but there's a pervasive saying in the red pill community: women, they're neither good nor bad, they just are. They're taking the shape of the container that they're put in. That doesn't absolve them from their behavior, because we're all born with the inherent understanding of the difference between right and wrong. Women know that fucking a man outside of her marriage is the wrong thing to do. But by the same token, you just have to understand that all women really are like that. Guys who say, well, not all women are like that, those are guys who get stuck in the anger phase because they don't really place, they want to place blame. Listen, man, feminism is to blame. Women are the manifestation of feminism. Don't get mad at them. Just deal with them for as long as you can, get the sex you want, and then get up out of there, man. That's all
we got Hunter Drew on.
yes.
You had an announcement that you wanted to make today, so we wanted to give you a little bit of
That's
airtime.
TFA, not TFM, by the way.
The Family Alpha.
Also
Yeah,
known
guys.
as Wolfman.
Yeah, we'll get that going too. Halloween's right around the corner. I've got my costume going, man. Going all natural, just walking around the fucking town.
Actually, before you kind of segue in, why don't you tell everybody what you talked about at the 21 convention? Kind of give them a little bit of a frame, because they're like, who are you? What did you talk about? And then kind of go towards your announcement.
Yeah, no, good to go. I come from the family side of the house. I'm implementing the red pill perspective on marriage, being a father and raising kids in a society that's just trying to infect them with all the SJW bullshit and just ways you can work around that. That's my angle. That's kind of what I'm bringing to the stage. And this year's 21Con, 21Con 2018 was killer. It was awesome to be there, see you guys again, get the conversation going. Now, my speech this year was more about, a lot of guys keep asking me, I want things to change. I want things to be different. Society's against men. Everything's stacked against us. We're getting screwed in family law. We're getting screwed everywhere. And I'm like, what are you doing about it, man? Like, what actions are you taking to help change that at all? I'm not a let's save the West kind of guy, but I'm a let's save the man kind of guy. And if you can help yourself, then by living that and being an embodiment of, actual masculinity, expressing instead of repressing, that can kind of help the guy next to you. So my whole speech was based on, lighting that fire. So doing your thing by living free from the shambles. People look at you and like, why the hell are you so happy? It's happy wife, happy life, right? And I'm like, nah, man, I don't do that. We don't follow that line of thought in my house. And guess what? That makes my wife happier. They're like, well, why are you guys, still flirting and acting like, you still got that shit going on? I'm like, man, we are attracted to each other because we're having fun with it, because we're going forward. And all of a sudden they start, well, why? How does that work? Why? And then all of a sudden they start listening to you. They take your advice like, oh.
I want to add that saving men is, in my opinion, that's what results in saving the West. If we don't, help men and empower men with as much positive content as we can, like we're doing, the West is going to fall apart eventually.
Yep.
So the end of saving men and helping men save themselves is, first and foremost what that is. That's what the end result is, in my opinion. It's the future.
The reason I always put that plug in there is because people love to come at me with, you need to have more children. Rollo and I did a talk with Craig about that. And because I've only had 2 kids, they're like, you're not doing your job to save the West. Like, whoa, we got to separate what we're saying here.
Yeah, I've only got 1 kid. Sorry, I'm not doing my level best, I guess.
It's like,
So
I've got a boy, I'm done.
I have a question for Hunter. Do you want to partner with me and Donovan on the 3 Days to Masculinity program with the cocaine, the trend, and the airdrop into Vegas?
Boom, let's do it, man.
All in.
Cocaine, trend balloon, airdrop in Vegas, man.
If you guys did a video of that, that would be funny.
Oh, that would be fucking awesome, dude. That would be awesome.
Legit.
I wanted to add too that I think in terms of children, I think Tanner's got her back on that. So we'll count on the Mormons to pick up the slack with the kids. So
there it is.
Tanner's a solid dude, man. I was pleasantly surprised by him. I thought he was all about the style thing. The dude is as red pill aware as anybody.
Tanner is based as fuck. He's super polite, super Mormon, super hardcore. I love that.
He's a fucking shiv is what he is, dude. I'm telling you, man.
So, Hunter, what's going on in your world, man? What are you working on these days?
So we've got the Fraternity of Excellence. We're growing that. We just overhauled the Family Alpha. And after 21Con, you get that high, you get that rush. So we're bringing more focus on what it is that we're putting out there. So increasing the YouTube channel, increasing basically everything that we're putting out there. Craig and I are going after that. And on the home front, right now we're in playoffs with Little League. So we won our game last night. Backs against the wall, man. We came out 9-6, took the win. So 2 more wins, we win the championship.
Oh, and can you link the YouTube channel that you guys are working on? Because I've heard you commit to a scheduled production. Like, you've got this whole thing going. Like, you really want to get it out there, right?
I do. So I don't have the link ready yet, but it is coming. And that's kind of based off of what you guys are doing here. A lot of guys are watching this. A lot of guys are seeing, the red pill. You guys are going on huge societal issues and that are really helping men. And what I look at is kind of like the smaller things, the basic things. I've got guys asking, how do I deal with my wife's in-laws or my in-laws, my wife's parents? What do I do when I go to a cookout and this is happening? You know, I want to build something where guys can start asking those very specific family oriented questions that I've gone through a shit ton in my lifetime. And a lot of guys that I interact with have as well. And I want them to have a resource for like, hey, you know, they don't want to bring it up. You know, that doesn't seem like something you bring up here, but that's a real question, guys. Like, hey, what the hell? Like, my wife isn't fucking me. Like, what do I do? You know, hey, my in-laws are stepping in, they're trying to raise my kid, and I'm saying do this, but my grandparents are saying do that. You know, real people are facing that shit. Like, how do you not step on toes and create a family war while you're trying to bring your kids up? You know,
there's no shortage of help that you can give men in that area. The married game is very hard. You know, long-term relationship married game is very hard. And I've said it's even harder than being single or dating or spitting plates. So, I mean, check out Hunter's stuff. So grab that link when you can, because we're probably going to run the show for another 20 minutes still or so.
Guys like Hunter, I think, are very important because Rollo talks a lot about men who are awakened while married or awakened. Now, if you're in a long-term relationship and you're awake, okay, you can get the hell up out of there. But if you have kids with someone, if you're in a committed relationship, like if you're in a marriage with someone, a lot of guys, okay, they get this red pill awareness, but they still love their wives. They still love their, you know, the mothers of their children. And they don't want to go out there and be Mr. Player. So I think guys like Hunter and Rollo are very important. Guys like Ryan too, go to the Married Red Pill subreddit. You guys really have to key in on these guys, because I think more importantly, we got to save the single guys out there, but the married guys, those are the guys that are putting guns in their mouths. Those are the guys that are putting the nooses around their neck. And I think that guys like Hunter and Craig are going to be integral in saving guys like that. Let
me add this here. I don't know. I'm moderately familiar with RK selection theory and genetics. But if I didn't know better, I would say that we have both R-selected men and K-selected men at the convention speaking their truth, speaking the power to what they believe in for men.
Right.
That's really useful. And that's what we see with guys like Tanner and Hunter and Rollo and stuff. And then we also have guys like Christian McQueen and all these other guys at the event, Alan Roger Curry and stuff, that just bang tons of women. Or Goldman. You know, Goldman's fucked almost 500 women, he said. Like, I remember me and Rich Cooper asking that. We were both like, holy shit.
The world is his wife.
Yeah, that was an interesting night. We got a super chat here from Subject A, and he said, question, got dumped by my fiance after 11.5-year relationship. She was a virgin and her epiphany was in reverse. Can you discuss?
Yeah, I was going to say, I could probably chime in on that one. What you've got is girls still go through an epiphany phase, regardless of whether they got married when they were 18 or when, you know, the chips are down and they're in, 29 to 31. The reason they do that is because hypergamy doesn't stop after marriage. I know that there are certain tradcon women who like to believe that once you're married, that all that hypergamous stuff goes away. No, it does not. And especially when you've got a woman who, like, let's say you're in a 11.5-year relationship. She's a virgin for you. What happened in that 11.5 years is really the crux of the matter right there. What did you do? How did you operate? What was the context of the marriage like? But more importantly, just in a general sense, when women go through their party years, if they're tied down through their party years, they sort of enter into what I call making up for missing out. And so maybe they get into their epiphany phase and they've been married for a long time. I covered this in the second book. And they're looking back on their lives and they're going, oh man, I could have got with so-and-so, or they're living vicariously through their girlfriends. They're like saying, oh, well, so-and-so just got married, or so-and-so she just got dumped, or she's, they're just living this like single life through their girlfriends so that they can get that need for attention, that need for indignation. And then they start making comparisons. And so you might be the benchmark, but they're looking at you in comparison to the lives that their girlfriends are living. And they are, hoping and wanting to live that life out. And then they realize at some point they go, well, maybe this guy isn't the best that I could do.
This happened with my own mother. My mother got married to my father when she was 16 years old. Virgin wife. My dad was a military guy. He was in the service for 27 years. It was the perfect life. We moved around. We've been to all these cities, all these countries, all these states. And when my mom, by the time she was 24, 25 years old, she had 5 kids. Okay. So now she's in the party years. Well, something happened along the way. And what happened was she was talking to other military wives, and military wives would talk about all these wild affairs and all this excited cheating that they were doing. My mom lived vicariously through those women, but eventually she said, I don't want to live vicariously anymore. I want to live that life. So mom got separated from dad for the first time, and she jumped on the carousel. Well, dad calls up mom and says, hey, you know, I'm being restationed in Hawaii. All of a sudden, mom says, oh, okay, let's get back together. So we moved to Hawaii for the second time. That's actually the second time I lived there. Same thing happens, man. So again, just because you put a ring on it, just because you're in a relationship with a woman, does not mean she is not off the market, gentlemen. And this goes back to, and guys need to understand this. This is embracing the burden of performance. This is the masculine conundrum. There is no such thing as unconditional love, man. Women would like to think that they can love unconditionally because it sounds sweet and it sounds it sounds like they're morally on high. Women don't love unconditionally. Women love their kids and their pets unconditionally. They don't love you unconditionally. And I think that's a good thing for men, because if they did, then there would be no red man group. We'd all be a bunch of fat slobs, because we'd have these hot chicks that love us no matter what, even when we're fat and unmotivated. So I think living vicariously through other women it's very, very dangerous for married women, because eventually at some point, if she listens to these stories long enough, she's going to want to take a turn of her own. And it happened in my own life.
You know, per Rich Cooper's comment, and I think Rollo can comment on this too, if I didn't know better, like I've heard people say that marriage is like red pill, and like a red pill marriage is like red pill and hard mode. And if I had to guess, the reason for that is that when women commit to a marriage, at least socially, not psychologically, but socially, they're making a choice and to optimize their hypergamy. And so now it's like all the cards are on the table. So I feel like there's more skin in the game slightly in a social sense. Like psychologically, hypergamy doesn't care. But socially, they're supposed to now have optimized their hypergamy in that man that's their husband or whatever, and the father of their kids. So I feel like that's part of the reason it's higher stakes and it's like a little bit more difficult.
I'm kind of glad Hunter's with us for this one, because he and I are married. So I've been married for 22 years, and one of the reasons I tell guys I advocate against men getting married today is primarily because
how could you, Rollo? You're a hypocrite. You're
exactly. Yeah, I know, right? Oh, yeah. It must be the cancer talking.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. It's the chemo talking. There you go.
Yeah, sorry. No, but I was going to say is that, and you're right. Anthony's right. It is like being red pill on hard mode. And I think that especially in today's state of marriage, I think marriage as an institution was a great idea back prior to the sexual revolution. I think it was a fantastic idea, but nowadays it is too dangerous. First of all, I mean, just from a social and a legal and financial perspective. But the other thing is that guys get into marriage and they think that they can just relax. They think they can just give up. They think they can just say, you know what, I'm married. She has to go for me now. I'm the one she's going to be with. Oh, I'm the one she's going to give her sexual best to. Right.
Yes.
And so guys, they relax. And these are the same guys who hit probably me and Hunter up and say stuff like, oh, I lost the frame, Rollo. How do I get the frame back? And it's funny because most of these guys never had frame to begin with, because they just entered into a relationship and a marriage without really having internalized red pill awareness and red pill truths. And then they become, much more red pilled once they get into, I mean, you want something that's going to teach you about the nature of women, get married. you will definitely understand the nature of women after that.
Oh, hell yeah.
And so I think that if you decide that you want to get married in this day and age and you are a man, and I highly advise against it, but if you do, you must have red pill awareness internalized. It has to be part of who you are. Yes. Because if it doesn't, like I said, I've been married for 22 years, and I attribute, I would say, the vast majority of the success that I've had to me being red pill aware.
Yeah, and just to add that a little bit more, to the marriage component, get married and then live the divorce machine. Then you'll understand women.
Yeah. Yep. Let me add this too, that I see a important distinction between legal marriage and private marriage. Something that we talked about in the show a little bit before.
Yeah, because you did a private marriage, right?
Yeah, and that included a lot of important things that any decent woman today, quote unquote, or whatever the fuck that means, she should be able to go along with that. And if she's not, you need to probably get the fuck out of there. Like, nope the fuck out. So private marriage in my case included, she legally took my last name, cost about $400 or $500, new passport, new driver's license, courthouse, all that bullshit. Honeymoon in Hawaii. We had a wedding, like the ceremony, the party, all that bullshit. Both families came out. We traded rings. So socially, it had all of the functions of marriage, minus the legal document, the marriage certificate, that would have fucked my life up a lot more. So
and that's only useful in the state of Florida. Like there's other states that aren't that friendly to a private marriage where you can't contract outside of family law, right?
no, most states, well, kids, it's not going to help kids. Like that's a separate issue.
Right.
But
Like with child support, you can't contract out of that. But what about things like alimony or any future, problems with the marriage? Can you actually contract out of that with a private marriage?
Yeah, most states do not have common law marriage in the United States. All states will recognize it from another state, but I think only like 6 or 7 states even have common law marriage at this point.
Yeah,
so
like
most
it's common law marriage throughout most of Canada here, so that wouldn't work.
Yeah.
But
in America, the common law marriage, like 80% of the states don't have it. They only recognize it from the few states that do as legitimate. Like Texas has it, and maybe a few more. But most states don't have it, so you're not going to get fucked into a common law marriage, which will be the same damn thing as getting legally married. So private marriage is not common law marriage. Common law marriage you have to watch out for in America, and obviously Canada too. It sounds like that's a big deal. I think that's happened to Ryan Stone actually.
yeah, we got a super chat here from Three Kingdoms MGTOW, and he said, "Guys, can you discuss the benefits of vasectomy?"
Yeah, no kids.
You don't get anybody pregnant. Nailed it.
No
There you
kids,
go.
child support, no problem.
Well, it's also your ace in the hole.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I'd much prefer if Vasagel became a mass market option, because I think that would, with a vasectomy, you can reverse it, but there's a certain risk with it. So if you're not sure, let's say you're 25, you're going to be fucking around for the next 10 years. Yeah, you're going to eliminate most chances of accidentally getting, and I say accidentally in quotation marks, getting a girl pregnant. But at the same time, having a reversible option that's not hormonal for men would be really useful, similar to the female IUD.
Right. Yeah,
it's still not going to avoid, if you get an STD, it's still going to burn when you pee, regardless of if you have a vasectomy or not.
True.
Yep.
Hey, we got a $25 super chat here. I'm going to read this because this guy is interesting. You guys saved me from suicide. I'm 39-year-old male, never married. I'm fit, lift weights, notch count approaching 20, and trying to enjoy my peak SMV. Thank you. I'm glad. Thank you for popping that in there, because I think that's important for a lot of people to hear, is that the game saves lives. Red pill saves lives. It changes lives. It moves you around. I hate to gloss myself a little bit here, but like there was a part of my speech where I asked guys, show of hands, how many guys have had their lives changed or saved by something that I've read or what they've read by me or written by me. And, damn near every hand in the house went up. And I think it's very important to say that this isn't just like a bunch of misogynists getting together and plotting against, society or something. It's not a bunch of sexist guys, And that's the other thing is, like, I think a lot of people misunderstand the 21 convention and the red pill as a whole, because I think it gets a bad rap. I think, it's just a bunch of white nationalists getting together and talking about how they can, dominate women. And it's like, no, we save lives, and it's a whole lot different. So thanks for that.
The 3 black guys, the deaf guy, the Jew guys, and the bald guys. Everybody speaking. Our diversity.
There was that story recently, we put out where the guy, he lost his wife, he lost his kid, he had to start sharing them, and then he sent them like a text and then took his life. And that was 2 days ago on Twitter. We were just talking about that. And when I talk about lighting the fire and being the example, that is what you do for other guys. You let them know, hey, I'm not alone. Hey, you're not alone in what you're thinking. Here is something I found that helped. And then that guy finds it, and then it spreads. And I wanted to go back to a second when Anthony was talking about, when a woman decides to get married and go into that life, she's making a choice. That's a choice she's making in that moment with those feelings. You've got to bring that choice back every single day, through going maintaining that polarity every day. We're talking about complacency. That's the biggest thing. And I don't want to echo Rollo, but it's exactly everything he said is exactly what I tell the guys. You have to maintain polarity. You don't sit there and you never get the girl, Your feet touch the ground, you always be gaming.
I agree 100% too. Like psychologically, marriage is just, vows are just words to women. Like it doesn't have the same meaning it does to men. But I think socially there's something to it. And I think that's part of what amps up the intensity of it and the difficulty. It's why being red pill becomes even more important in marriage, not less important. We're on the same page, I think.
Let me ask a question here, because just to go back to what we were talking about earlier, a guy put in the chat, he said, so no LTR then. I guess LTR is out of the question. Well, Rollo's been married for 22 years. Hunter is married. I'm in a long-term relationship. So I'd like to pass this off to Hunter, because you said something during your 21 convention speech that should have resonated with a lot of guys. She says, listen, man, Guys talk about don't get married, don't get married. He said, listen, man, I'm married. I've got great kids. I've got a great wife. There's going to be risks involved. And if you don't want to take those risks, fine. But if you really want all that marriage or a long-term relationship has to offer, you're going to have to incur some risks. I think a lot of guys want all of the benefits without any of the risk. That's why, well, I'm not going to get into an LTR. Well, okay, that's fine. But you have to understand that there are some risks. So I'd like Hunter to sort of talk. I mean, you're married, you've got a couple of kids. Talk about the risks and talk about why you decided to stay married. Why you decided to get married.
So, coming up from my youth, I had a close family, a big family, a lot of brothers, a lot of uncles, a lot of aunts. I grew up in that environment, everything was stable, things were good like that. And I knew that's what I wanted. I was like, man, I want kids. That was just my thing. Some guys want to travel the world. I wanted just a clan of my own. So I've known that for a long time. I think there are a lot of guys that are wired like that.
Right.
They say men are programmed for polygamy and women are programmed for hypergamy. And that's just kind of what we're doing. And I was never like the playboy. I never wanted to do things like that. I wanted to go in the military, have a wife, I'm a simple dude. And I made that happen. And there are guys that want to make that happen for whatever their reasons, whether it's children, or that's what they grew up in, whether it's an expectation from religion, for some reason they're in there. Now, what I really stressed during my speech was you can want whatever you want. It doesn't matter what I say. It doesn't matter what anybody says. You are a man. You're an adult male. You need to act like it. Make your decision and don't say the internet guys told me to do this, so that's the path I'm going to walk. But you've got to own the consequences of your decisions. If today she decides, hey, I'm done, like this isn't working, hey, shut down the family alpha or we're getting divorced. Okay, we're getting divorced. So be it. That's how that's going to go. I'm not going to stop doing what I feel I have to do. And I lose money there. I lose access to my children there. I currently, by being married, I can't drop the hat and go see you guys in Vegas tomorrow. Like I just have commitments here. I was talking about Little League a little bit earlier. That's time away from doing stuff like this. But to me, that's a fair trade-off.
That's fucking awesome, though, isn't it? Like seeing your kid play baseball.
And that's what I'm saying. Some guys are wired for that. For me, that is more fulfilling than what it is I'm trading. I can't go travel at the drop of a hat, but I get to see my kid perform and excel. And I think that is kick-ass. That is me. That is me owning the consequences of that.
It's a lifestyle choice. And I don't think guys really appreciate the amount of risk, like the money that you have on the table because of that. So you can enjoy watching your kid play baseball. I mean, you think of all the risks that you have to take on in marriage just so you can have that particular,
it is
experience.
Insane. It's half plus the taxes.
It's insane. It's absolutely, when you think about it, it's like nauseating. You're like, man, like so much can go wrong. So you just feel like red pill aware, man. I'm always trying to like step my game up, like literally and figuratively. I'm trying to raise that standard because I just don't want to be that guy. And Hunter, it is what it is.
What you're doing is you're respecting your own values and you're navigating them really good. So I think it's awesome what you're doing, man. Being a father and a speaker and the family alpha and all this stuff. You're kicking ass, man.
It's like Rollo said, though. This only works because I have that awareness.
Right.
It's the only reason it works.
Yep.
See, I was that guy. I lived that Vegas playboy lifestyle. I've done the girls and the strippers and the drugs and the, hollering at girls and different girls and this and that and the other. Was it awesome? Absolutely. But here's the thing, Hunter, and I think most guys are wired to want exactly what you want. We as men, like we have a biological desire to pass on a legacy. And the only way really to pass on your legacy to sort of make an imprint on the world is by procreation, having kids. And not only that, I believe that, the Playboy lifestyle is great, but I think it would be disingenuous for any man to admit that being able to come home to one woman that you can rely on thanks to your red pill awareness and your red pill actions, I think that's a better life. Don't get me wrong, man. Dude, I'll be sitting anytime Devin and I are sitting watching TV, they're always advertising Vegas on the screen. And I don't hide it. I'm like, God damn, dude, I used to pick up girls there. I used to hang out with my boys there, and I used to live here. And she always, kind of has this look on her face. She's like, oh God, I feel like you're going to leave for Vegas at the drop of the hat. No, I'm not, because I've lived that life and it was great and it was fun, but I grew out of it. And it not to say that I wouldn't have grown out of it, but again, Wilt Chamberlain famously fucked, I think, like 10,000 women, or at least that's what he said. But he said, listen, man, I've had many women in my life, but I would have given most of them up if I could have one reliable woman. I'm here to tell you, having lived both lives, not to the extreme, I'm not married by any stretch of the imagination. being in a long-term relationship is a better life than the Playboy lifestyle. There are benefits and drawbacks to both, but as a 41-year-old man, to me, there are far more benefits to living the life that I live now as opposed to living the Vegas hangover lifestyle.
So we got a super chat here from Hayek's Ghost, a MGTOW. He says, what is the point of having women around in the first place? I got a career with a few side hustles working. Why waste my time if it's only my turn with her? Why not go MGTOW, absent the sex doll?
Hey, I can't blame you, man.
I threw an answer to that in chat, and number one, my career and side hustles do not give blowjobs. Number two, my side hustles do not cook. And number three, my side hustles aren't entertaining in the way women are entertaining. Because quite frankly, women are very entertaining when you're hanging around them. And it's annoying yet entertaining. It's a lot like watching, a Kevin Hart special. Yeah, dude makes you laugh, but he's also an annoying little right that you want to punch in the face, and it's kind of similar.
Wow, that's a great analogy, man. Women.
I want to
Kevin Hart.
Anybody else want to hit on that?
I want to hit on this. Yeah. So this question he put out. I mean, thanks for the super chat, but it feels like a loaded question. So why waste my time if it's only my turn with her? So you're assuming, I mean, Carl can maybe comment some logical fallacies here to it, but there's something wrong with the question, I think. But like Carl said, women are very enjoyable. Like, I love women a lot. And that's also why I hate feminism and all this other shit. But yeah, women are for all the, the miscommunication, the misfiring, the negative sides of hypergamy and like all this crap. Women are still pretty awesome at the end of the day if you respect their nature and who they are. And then you have the better ones you can find, have them around in your life, to the extent that respects your other values. So it's awesome. Like he said, your side hustle doesn't give you blowjobs.
Honestly, women are everything that we aren't. They're soft or we're hard. They smell good where we smell like shit. Like, why would you not enjoy them?
They're soft, we're hairy.
They're very different. Like we say men and women are different. Women are very different. Like they are the only other like intelligent being on the planet alongside of we're both humans, but they're so different, but they're fully capable of rationality to a huge extent. Living life, doing all this cool shit, independent of all the fuckery that we see now with Western women and stuff like that. So there's a lot of positives to it, and it's not just blowjobs. So that's probably 80% of it.
But that just goes to the reason why we deal with them in the first place. I said it during my speech. Women are weird and wonderful and fantastic and fucked up. All at the same time. Somebody said in the chat, feminine energy is addictive. Yes, it is. True femininity has restorative properties, man. Like being around a woman, like the way they smell, the way they feel. This is why I always find it disingenuous when people use the Russian roulette and being with a woman is like playing Russian roulette. No, dude, the gun's not going to suck your dick. The gun's not going to cook for you. The gun's not going to make you feel good. If you win at Russian roulette, it's status quo. You walk away. If you win with a woman, then you're in a good relationship with a woman.
I want to make a distinction here too. We hear all these purple pill white knights and shit. They say quality women and decent girls and all this bullshit. That's all stupid fuckery. Like I'm fundamentally opposed to that. Like I think we're on the same page. But I do think there's an element of healthy women that you could put out, and that respects then the fucked up kind of elements of hypergamy and all this shit. But I see women from South America that are less infected by a significant margin from feminism, and being around them is awesome. Women from parts of Asia, parts of Eastern Europe, it's not this magical difference, but it's significant. It's real. And they're a lot better to be around, interact with, flirt with, and express that element of masculinity with. And you can't do that with a side hustle, just like the blowjob comment. That's part of what that means. You're enjoying your masculinity because she's sucking you off and it's fucking awesome or whatever you're doing. So, the sex doll doesn't fucking do that. Your side hustle doesn't do that. Having a badass hobby that you love, shooting guns or whatever, snowmobiling, whatever the fuck Rollo does out there and shit. That shit's awesome. But
both at the same time.
Both at the same time.
But
it's distinct, it's distinct, and it's an important element of human life, and it's an important element of being a heterosexual man. And it's super enjoyable. We love women, for real.
Well,
real quick, a guy says, can you not cook yourself? Yes, I can cook myself. I can jerk off myself, but it's more fun when a woman does it for me. This is why we pursue women.
Well, then that's the gambit here. It's the TFM gambit. It's like, well, why not just go get it all? Why not just go all the way to the extreme? Well, I don't think you're extreme enough if that's what you're talking about. Why would you even spend the money to buy a doll? Because all you're looking for is the feeling, right? all you're looking for is, I mean, hell, pornography's free online. Why don't you just jerk yourself off?
Dude, sex dolls are just a more expensive way.
I don't think your convictions are strong enough. I think you should not even get a sex doll. I think you should just jerk off the porn and go back to whatever your side hustle was. Because if you're going to talk about pragmatism, if you're just going to be a pragmatist about it, then you're not being pragmatic enough, because you're spending money on a sex doll and whatever else you have to do to maintain that thing. So don't give me this stuff about, well, we're going to get a sex doll, because what they're doing is they're leaning to binary extremes. And I was talking about this in the very first part, the first part of this this podcast, is that's one thing that gets me, is like guys who say, well, why don't you just go all the way, man? Why don't you get a sex doll? Okay, why don't you go all the way? Why don't you go all the way and not get a sex doll? And why don't you go all the way and just jerk off all the time? And you know what? Maybe don't even do it to porn. Just jerk yourself off in the bathroom with nothing else, because even having an internet service provider might be too much money for you to actually invest in doing any of that.
Man.
So there's that part of it, but then there's also the fact that that's the binary extreme side, and then there's the want for ownership, because as you'll say here, is why would I bother with all this for a woman who's never going to love me, who's never going to be mine? And remember how we always say, hey, it's you don't own her, it's just your turn. Well, here's the thing, that's part of the deal. Even when you're married, you have to accept that. Even when you're married, you have to say, hypergamy doesn't end. So that's part of the deal. If you don't want that deal, don't take the deal. Go just jerk off. That's fine.
Or buy a doll.
When you say this, you listen. I gotta add this. I think this really highlights basically what it summarizes what Carl said. You can't mind fuck a sex doll,
right?
Ever. And that's part of the game. It's that psychological interplay and that kind of combat.
It just comes
enjoyable.
with the territory. It just comes with the territory. Yeah, women offer extreme pleasure. They also can offer extreme pain. It's just,
nothing good comes without a price, man. You can't get all of a woman's benefits without any of the negatives. And listen, women put up with bullshit.
You have to be okay with that. Like, you have to be content and accepting of the reality of the world that you live in today as a man, if you're going to navigate it. Bad shit's going to happen. You might get married to somebody that you thought you vetted properly, that you had a couple of great kids with, and you find out she's fucking Steve in accounting, and shit just happens. Shit just happens. You're gonna have to accept it and move on. That's female nature. Things will go down that way.
High Exposed cleared up the record. He's anti-sex doll, you fuck.
Yes, he's made that clear. It is now stated in the comments.
He's anti-sex doll, guys.
I want to make a quick announcement and then pass it off to Anthony, because he has an announcement as well before we wind down the session. Couple things. We have a Patreon for the Red Man Group. I will link it in the chat after I finish the announcement, but there's 2 tiers. The $5 tier is just, hey, thanks for putting out the content. I'm contributing $5 a month. It's a subscription, and you just, allow us to keep doing this, because this sort of thing costs money, especially when we're doing the proper panel that we did at the Orlando event. That was a very expensive setup. By the way, that will be released. I'm hoping Anthony's going to have it ready. Oh, dude, you got the pink hat now.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so
yes,
that will hopefully be released next week. We're just cleaning it up. We had a power outage during the live broadcast. The second tier on Patreon is $10 a month, and we're going to do exclusive hangouts for patrons where you can ask Q&A just straight through the entire conversation. So there'll probably be me, Rollo, and maybe any other panelists that want to join in on it. But we'll set a schedule, set time every single month, and you can hop on, just straight up Q&A, ask anything you want. Similar to how we do it towards the end, but at least you'll be able to hop on live and have the discussion. So almost like live coaching. Anthony, you have an announcement and a pink hat now. You've switched over. Go.
Yes,
that's right. So the pink hat is just a little teaser. I'm not going to make the full announcement here in the broadcast, but everyone should check my social media accounts later today in a few hours, and you're going to see one of the biggest announcements of my life, independent of the 2019 conventions that we have to announce soon that are major in Poland and America next year. So independent of 2019, I have something for 2020 that's going to be dropping today that is, I think, going to light the manosphere on fire in a very positive way. I'm very excited. Rollo and Rich have been brought in with what's going on, and everyone else on the panel, and Hunter as well. So everyone else will see that from the panel and the audience today. So check my social media. I'm at Beach Muscles on Twitter, at Beach Muscles on Facebook, Instagram, all that shit. And it's made a big fucking deal. And I'm super excited. I've been planning it for a few years. And then the previous 2018 event just happened now, really lit a fire into my ass to get this going. I think it's going to be one of the most badass things we've ever done. And I'm super fucking stoked. So everyone check it out. The hat
Dude, I
Is a
gotta know, man. I gotta know.
little hint. You'll be all about it, Donovan. You almost
You'll be in. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Donovan's- Donovan's
Do we
super.
have any closing remarks from any of the panelists before we wrap this up?
Yeah, this is one of the better Red Man groups we've done.
I think
in
so.
a while, man. And hopefully the phone lines will be back up.
I was going to say we need to make sure that everybody at the end of this broadcast know that the reason we didn't take phone calls is because Blog Talk Radio is
Yeah, it's
down.
down
I
everywhere.
because I desperately wanted to take phone calls for this one.
Cool. All right. So on that note, thank you to everybody that participated, asked questions, donated super chats, have pledged to the Red Man Group Patreon. I've linked it there in the chat. If you consider that, we'd be greatly appreciative. We'll see you guys next Saturday for episode 39. Follow the panelists on social media. We'll have their social links below, so you can hear the announcement when we make it, what the topic is, and hopefully we see you guys again next Saturday at 10 a.m. Same place, same time.
All right.
All right, guys. Later.
All right. Peace out.
Audio.